Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It's a Takeaway Tuesday edition of Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Taman Turner producing on the audio side / engineer. We've got Anthony Smith behind the cameras here on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast channel. Also, special thanks to our friends at Rally House for all the awesome swag and merch as we've redecorated our studio over the last several weeks. Check out rallyhouse.com to get your team merch now. Ari, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Matter of fact, let's go.
Let's go. Do you have any takeaways for me on this Takeaway Tuesday?
Is it a deep O let's go Tuesday, or is it just that was very matter of fact?
It's a Takeaway Tuesday. I was actually I put 2 let's goes with extra T's and extra S's into our chat on YouTube. So that was top of mind for me as you sort of pivoted to my portion. So
a
little bit behind the curtain there. You can comment and join the comments with us on YouTube. Just go to the Big 12 Conference YouTube channel and stream us live there.
I think today is the day. I think today is the day that some of those comments make it to the airwaves.
Whoa.
What are your thoughts?
We've done it before.
Have we?
Yeah.
Excessively, just a little bit. I feel like we've just kind of dipped our toes in that body of water.
Did some toe dipping.
I'm ready for a bath.
Well,
I'm here for it.
I'll monitor.
I want to bathe in comments.
I'll let you know if there's enough comments to be bathing in.
Okay.
Enough quality comments. There's some shots right there to our friends over at YouTube that are commenting. What, you have any takeaways for me? I feel like it's a Takeaway Tuesday. You've introed it that way, so you've got to have a takeaway or two.
Here's my biggest takeaway. Can you imagine? Go back to your college days. Calling home to your parents and saying, guys, it's just not working out for me. I'm coming home. I don't have enough social media followers. Because Arizona State has rolled out a Bachelor of Arts in Content Creation. This is a real degree. Arizona State has a phenomenal journalism department.
Yeah, the Cronkite School of Broadcasting.
A lot of bigwigs come out of Arizona State. Well, now they've introduced in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication the Content Creation degree. It's a 120 credit hour degree. It's a standard 4-year bachelor's structure, and it begins this academic year.
The degree covers video production, podcasting, personal branding, audience analytics, and social media strategy alongside traditional general education courses in math, history, and writing. I genuinely think this is a great idea. I wouldn't be surprised if many other schools follow suit, especially from a journalism perspective. It will be very interesting to see because it feels like influencing is far removed from journalism. So here you have, I would imagine, journalism professors to a degree teaching and imparting wisdom within this discipline. So how much will then these influencers that graduate from the school be equipped with sort of the right journalistic integrity and tendencies? That's a major question. But I mean, given the world we're in right now, I'm quite surprised that this is the first of its kind, if it is.
And it's easy to kind of laugh at and poke fun at, but I'm with you. This is very progressive. This is very not going to be the first. High school kids going to college, incoming freshmen, even kids in college, this is going to be their bag. Like, the world that they're growing up in and the world that we grew up in is so different. And content creation, it's no longer just about, like 5 or 10 years ago, it was, okay, if you're a content creator, you're taking a risk, but you're kind of the first to the table. Now it's very much math-based, algorithm-based. It's not necessarily about who has the best content. It's about who's the best at working the system. And I think this will kind of tie those two things together. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And I mean, look, it's interesting from the standpoint of, it used to be in media, you got jobs based on people, decision makers, and there was an entry point that was difficult. Now the entry point is your own self and your camera and your podcast and whatever else you want to do. throw it up on YouTube. Like, there is no entry point that's hard to break through in. So it's the only thing that's hard to break through in is can you generate a consistent audience? Are you compelling? Do you have that? And I think that's it's crazy. Like, we used to live in a world where like fame was pretty openly defined, and now it feels like my kids talk about these influencers. My kids aren't even on YouTube, and somehow they're akin. They are understanding what these influencers are doing, and I'm like, who? Tell me these names of these people. I'm like, who?
Yep. And then it evolves.
Never felt older.
And then it evolves to where, like, one of the top early YouTube content creators, they now have their own show on Netflix. You've got the Dude Perfect guys that live here in Dallas that really were kind of at the forefront of this whole digital revolution. But also, it takes a lot of work. Like, that's the other part. This class is going to help identify the foundation for what it takes. And I also think it'll be eye-opening in terms of, sure, you can have a camera and a podcast and whatever, but there's so much more that goes into it other than just churning out videos or churning out audio clips. There's a lot of math and science behind the whole ordeal.
Yeah, and as soon as they figure it out at Arizona State, can you come help us here at Big 12 today? Because we're old.
The karaoke captions, though, they're fire. Okay, you got to check those out. Check out the Google folder. I've been doing a lot of vibe coding. Not sure if you're aware I code.
I did check out the Google folder, by the way. It hasn't been updated.
Seriously?
You brought it up,
So
I was going to have to mention it.
You know, I just assumed
I wasn't going to say anything.
2 days ago it was working fine. Not sure what happened yesterday, but we'll reevaluate.
Yeah. No, you do great. You're a coder. So far, the returns are okay.
Yeah, I would say minimal.
Now, look, I'm not coding. So I'm not making fun of you. I'm not poking fun because I'm not doing it. So I'm just complaining about a situation that was given to me as like a gift from God.
You complain all you want. It's not going to impact my coding sessions one way or another. Because now I'm very determined.
I saw you coding yesterday during the show, even.
Working on a project. I've got a lot of projects, none of them going particularly well at this point in time. Please don't tell my wife. I spent like $150 the last week trying to put all this together.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, the stakes they're ramping up.
$150.
They're ramping up. Yeah, we had to upgrade the plan. We had to pay for API keys, but we're so close.
Wait,
I'm the guy at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just one more prompt. One more prompt. This is going to be it.
I think we found your calling.
Yes, clearly. It's been a smashing success. I have found my
This doesn't
calling.
work out. I think coding is in your future.
Well, really what has led to my determination, also something I haven't shared, but I will now publicly. Somebody called me a moron on the internet, and that's really got me fueled up. I was filling in on another show. Somebody said, this moron thinks he's going to vibe code a $30 million app, because I was referencing somebody that actually did that. They called me a bunch of names. I got angry, and now I'm like, oh, get those guys.
So was this a first for you?
Being called a moron?
On the internet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah, because
No.
I, on the other hand, love it.
No.
I would prefer that.
It's motivating.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fun. Motivating, sure, it could be, I guess, depending on, I think, the credibility of the comment itself. If it's just like, moron, well, then it's not very helpful.
Okay, you
Like-
want a detailed attack.
Yeah.
I mean, I could set up some bots to do that in 2 seconds.
If you're going to criticize me, at least come with receipts, right? I mean, have
How
some.
about personal attacks?
Those are less fun. I mean, more fun from the standpoint of like, oh, hey, you've noticed me and I somewhat matter enough for you to actually like say something about me negatively, which is cool. And I guess that's sort of like the whole joke about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like credible feedback.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody to attack you in a negative way. I don't know why I keep using the word attack. That sounds very aggressive.
Sounds like you're attacking.
But for somebody to come after you, it means you're living in their heads rent-free. That's what that means.
Oh, yeah, totally. Love rent-free
Look
living.
on that latest link. Check out the captions. They're hot.
This is from Friday,
Yeah, give
July
it a
24th.
whirl.
There's
Yeah, just
usually
give it a whirl.
There's usually more clips than that.
Yeah, well, I had to trim it down to get it right. Okay? It's taking way too long. It's a process.
Got it.
And
So
it's
the $150
ever evolving.
that $150 you spent.
Look at that. Look at that caption.
Wonderful.
Look at that caption carousel.
Wonderful.
That's called a karaoke caption.
So wait,
style.
you spent $150 on this?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not reimbursing you, so good luck with that.
No. I had an idea, and really, it started with myself. How could I make, like, I'm getting ready to ramp up into play-by-play season.
Yeah.
And carrying the mental load of that and this can be a lot. And so I was trying to maximize efficiency by essentially creating a tool that will do my spotting charts for me. Because I spend hours and hours and hours assembling the board, and then it hit me that you spend so much time putting those 11 by 17 charts together to identify players and trends and all those things, that by the time you get them finished, there's not really a ton of time to actually absorb that information and study what you've built. And so my idea is to have an AI tool that builds it for me, and then I spend the week studying using the same tool versus just putting it all together myself.
Sounds really easy.
Super easy. $150 later, and sorry, babe, I won't be able to do dinner on Friday. Like, that's the date budget. That's the date budget. So, good idea. It's just, frankly, it's been way harder than I thought it was going to be. Very defeating, and I've cried myself to sleep a couple of nights this week.
So did you do it?
I'm working on it.
Okay, so it's not done yet.
I'm real close.
Got it.
Real close.
Okay, well,
That's what I was working on yesterday.
Again, some people like myself just sit there and complain about things. Other people like yourself are a little bit more proactive about trying to fix things instead of just complaining and sitting back and throwing up your hands and saying, there's nothing else I can do about it, you know?
No, now I'm on a mission.
On a mission.
I'm on a mission. Hey, Will Hammond, the Texas Tech quarterback, is going to join us on today's program.
Whoa! Who?
Will Hammond.
AKA Sunshine?
So he went viral yesterday for the Sunshine stuff?
I believe so. It kept popping up on my social.
Dude's got amazing hair.
He looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans. And he's perfectly fine with that.
Every single Texas Tech player
Looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans?
that. They're also jacked, just huge dudes. But also, they're extremely likable. Everybody paints Texas Tech as this villain, this outlaw, whatever you want to call them. But every single player that we've come across, which has probably been a half dozen or so since Big 12 Media Days in our conversation with Will Hammond, they're incredibly likable guys. Down to earth, humble.
To be fair, though, a Red Raider is literally a outlaw and a villain. So maybe that's just the price you pay for being a Red Raider. I don't know. I mean, they've always been. I mean, Joe McGuire is one of the most likable people. Kirby Hoka. I mean, Matthew Dowdy, from their PR staff. Like, they're extremely likable. That's, I think, what made the Sorsby thing so tough to swallow, is it was happening to a lot of good people, that many of which were not responsible for it and kind of found themselves in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you could say, like, well, maybe they should have vetted him better. You know, I don't think that people who say that have a really good sense of how the transfer portal market works. And I think it's an unfortunate reality, but it is a reality. And that is, it's speed dating. It's very quick. It's very quick when you're trying to vet guys. And you know, this is sort of where the rubber meets the road in terms of, like, how early are you vetting certain guys? Right? Are you vetting them through the season to see? Right? That could very much. There's a balance there between doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. So I think it's all difficult in terms of trying to find the right kind of guys.
In Texas Tech, the last 2 years, they've crushed it. They have their giant big board that they put together of guys that they would target if they entered the portal. So we'll hit on some, I guess, delicate subjects with Will Hammond, because we'll ask him about the Sorsby stuff. We'll ask him about the injury stuff, and is he truly going to be ready to go week 1 against Abilene Christian? Real quick, I have one Will Hammond story that I heard at Big 12 Media Days. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
So apparently, when he was, I think this was his true freshman year at Texas Tech, which would have been like 3 years ago. They were on a road trip, and they're in the hotel, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and him and his teammate are just laying in bed trying to fall asleep. And it's been silent for a good half hour or so. And then out of nowhere, Will Hammond says just a blanket, zero context statement about, like, a defensive back, let's call him Johnson, who's like when they line up in this coverage, he's late getting to the B gap, just something super detailed in the middle of the night, and his roommate was like, what? Like, does this guy ever not obsess over football? Like, the guy's just a gamer. He's a gamer, and there's nothing he loves more.
Why'd you bring that story up?
Because we're having Will Hammond on the show today.
No, I said, why didn't you bring that story up to him?
Because, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, I was going deep with the Eagle Scout stuff. And
Yeah, that was good.
there you were holding out on us with a great little bit about how obsessed with football he is.
Yeah, I tried to ask him how obsessed he was with football. And he just kind of gave us well, I'm a quarterback. So, yeah, I like
Yeah, on a scale, what's the scale? 1 to 10 here? I'm 10. I'm very obsessed.
football. I like football. Football, I like.
I like to play.
Yeah.
I like to throw the ball down the field.
That man is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We're off and rolling on a Takeaway Tuesday.
What is your takeaway? You didn't even give me a takeaway.
The Arizona State Influencer Program is awesome.
Okay, cool.
What about you?
I didn't have any takeaways. No takeaways today.
No takeaways.
Well, let's just say this. And maybe this is the most important takeaway for the entire day. Maybe we should talk about it next. I don't know. It's up to you. It's your show. The Protect College Sports Act might not be dead after all. They've been working both ends to try to get this thing done. What's sort of interesting, and I think I brought this up last week when discussing, will it be changed so much to placate to the SEC and the Big Ten that it's no longer attractive to the Big 12 and the ACC and everybody else? Time will tell. I also thought there were some really interesting quotes from Kyle Whittingham as Big Ten Media Days is in full effect in Chicago, and Kyle Whittingham was on the Rich Eisen show, had some really interesting things to say about NIL in the future. In fact, he said one thing where I think he put his foot in his mouth, and I think he said something else that I think he's absolutely right on with.
Let's do it. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. We'll touch on the latest in the Protect College Sports Act. Also, are there any national championship contenders in the Big 12? We'll see, according to Bill Connolly of SP Plus at ESPN. He's Ari, I'm James. We are powered by Modelo. Off and rolling on a Tuesday edition of Big 12 Radio. 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Will Hammond will be on the show, the Texas Tech quarterback. He will join us in the third hour of the program. But the Protect College Sports Act, it is crunch time because essentially with the Senate breaking for summer recess from August 10th to September 11th, a full month where everybody's dark, your like practical working window is basically this week and next week, and that's it. And the latest from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports is that on Sunday there was an update on negotiations. There was a 2-hour call. It was Senator Cruz, Cantwell, and Schmidt, and then the 6 conference commissioners plus the Notre Dame AD. They received a summary of the bill revisions today, or late last night, I should say, with the specific language expected to break later on today, probably after our show. But what's the latest and what's your take?
Do you have the all of the adjustments that have been made, or do you have a sense of what the? So I know, like, the amount of money, the player pool money has been increased. There's also additional money you can spend to retain your own players, and then there's additional money available, sort of a separate cap for women's sports. Mm-hmm. Am I missing anything?
No, I think the 3 real like sticking points. The media rights pooling, which appears to be like the closest to being resolved. The SEC and the Big Ten, they wanted this like airtight, clear provision that those media rights pooling are voluntary and not necessarily locked in. And then the revenue sharing cap flexibility that you touched on with the retention pool, what percentage of that goes to women's sports. Those are probably the hottest sticking points, swing points, hinge points, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so I mean, the SEC and the Big Ten basically spent a few months, poo-pooing the bill, and then over the course of, I guess, 24 hours, basically hammered out ways in which it could be more conducive to their liking. So because of that, now, based on this, there's a good chance this thing can get voted on and perhaps even pass. Now, with that being said, the biggest sticking point here is that, like, okay, now the bill has to be written, and it has to be written by lawyers. And so this has to be done before Tuesday. So, I mean, at this point, it appears that this is on track to actually get passed. The only thing stopping it would not be the votes, but rather the ability to have it totally drafted and ready to go by Tuesday. As far as I understand it, that's the biggest thing, and it's really interesting because one of the sponsors of the bill told reporters that the bill is, quote unquote, steering in the right direction. This after saying, quote, I don't think we'll be able to get it done just last week. So this went from not going to be able to get it done to, yeah, there's a pretty good chance we're in the right direction here. And so, look, if they can have this ready to vote by Tuesday, we'll see what happens. If not, then you wonder how big of a priority it becomes after September 11th when they're back. And, because we've heard, and it's obvious that with the November election coming up, that most of the attention for the legislators will be on that front by the time it comes to September 11th, September 12th. So that's the time of year where many senators have been promising many things over the course of their election. And now is the time where it's like, have we done that? Okay, we should probably do this real quick before the next election so we can prove that we actually did something.
Yeah, if we get to September 12th and this is still where it is today, it gets buried. So when you say Tuesday, do you mean a week from today or today?
I believe a week from today.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I believe a week from today.
So we've got essentially a 7-day negotiation period.
Correct.
To get it finalized.
Not only, I think the negotiation is done, I think it's just language at this point. It's just writing the bill, right? At this point, the SEC leaders and Big Ten leaders, and I would imagine all the other leaders of other conferences have been handed sort of the bullet points of what will be included in there. And now it's up to the legislators, lawyers, et cetera, to write the bill itself. That's what needs to be written within the week. And if we know, lawyers, it can take some time.
Know that all too well. All right, Kyle Whittingham, the former Utah, now Michigan coach. Big Ten media days are underway. We had the Big 12 and then the SEC and now the Big Ten. Here's what he said about college football needing to adopt an NFL minor league model?
I think it's got to be an NFL minor league model where we have a salary cap. And, the players are employees. I think, as distasteful as some of that is, I don't think there's any other way that is better than that. And, right now it's out of control. I mean, we're going to have probably, a dozen teams in the next recruiting cycle with $50 million rosters. And there's such a disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And I think that the only way to get that evened out and level the playing field is to go ahead and pattern it after an NFL, like I said, a minor league NFL model and a super league, if you will, and you'll probably see 48 to 60 teams survive the cut and be on the right side of the line in the sand and proceed forward.
Whoa. Haves and have-nots. Kyle, you're at Michigan now, buddy. You can't be saying that stuff out loud.
Part of the haves.
When you're at Michigan? What are you talking about? You don't care about the have-nots. Couple of things there. So the not sustainable piece is made so much more colorful by the fact that the athletic director at Michigan, Ward Manuel, is enjoying quite the lucrative buyout. Ward Manuel presided as the athletic director over Michigan at a time where they saw unprecedented damage to the university in terms of the athletic department with cheating scandals and Sharon Moore, however you want to classify what happened with Sharon Moore. I mean, infidelity at best, a lot more at worst, and he's getting quite the nice package here as a landing spot. So, on one hand, you have the adults in the room talking about an unsustainable world of $50 million rosters. On the other hand, you've got enormous buyouts, enormous salaries. That also doesn't seem very sustainable, and yet Kyle Whittingham, no mention whatsoever there of the unsustainability of that. Remember, it's all coming from the same budget, right? So it's really interesting, and I just question the idea of it's not sustainable. What isn't sustainable? The market dictates what people will and will not pay for something. So as long as you have people that are going to put together 50 to 60 to 70 to $100 million rosters, then it's sustainable. What's not sustainable, of course, is 95% of college football paying that much money for rosters.
Right.
But that's not the question here, right? If I'm at Michigan or I'm at Texas, I'm not tasked with spending at the level of everybody else because I have access to all this money. That's kind of how sports works unless there's a cap on it, right? And even then, as we've seen throughout the history of college sports, a cap is probably just a recommendation, like a speed limit, right? You can go faster. You might get a ticket, but for the most part, you're probably going to go faster than the speed limit would have you be. That's what I think a cap would be in this world. There's nothing that's going to stop the continued ballooning of roster sizes and of roster money, the cost of rosters. So you can call it unsustainable, but I would say the market tells you that it is extremely sustainable. What is probably more unsustainable is, paying Ward Manuel tens of millions of dollars to not be the athletic director anymore because, he was just an unmitigated disaster as the athletic director of Michigan.
Right. And how are we defining sustainable? The gap between the elite programs and everybody else, if sustainable means parity or competitive balance, sure, that's not existing. But there's a reason why the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Cubs win in Major League Baseball where there's no cap. Largest market, deepest pockets. We're seeing that now in college football and acting like we've never seen this before.
And the other thing is we're acting like we've never seen the disparity before, and I think that's really important here. Are we under some belief that there's been a level playing field for so long? I mean, think about how those resources were grouped together and then used previously, right? We're talking about some of the nicest facilities and stadiums and support staffs and all that. I mean, dietitians, right? I mean, all of those pieces are still needed, but that used to be how programs got ahead before, was offering those opportunities to student athletes, and now it's that plus money. That's what's creating large disparity, but that disparity's existed for a long time. The programs that have had the most money have always exercised their ability to use the most money and created a disparity. There's never been an even playing field.
Right. And one of my new pet peeves this media days off season are teams complaining about other teams' budgets and the budget that they've allotted for their roster. Well, this team has a $40 or $50 million roster. Like, the hard numbers are driving me crazy because you hear it from rosters that, for all we know, Michigan could have a $40 or $50 million roster. But as kind of like a passive-aggressive move, they're trying to call out other programs, while at the same time, if you really look deeper into it, exposing themselves. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's on you.
I was going to pivot. You want to pivot?
Well, should we hear the clip from Kyle Whittingham, clip 15 here, on the SEC breakaway conversations?
Let's hear it.
You're already hearing Greg Sankey in the SEC say it's no posturing here that we might want to take.
It's a reality. Yeah, no doubt.
And you think it would make for a better, fairer, more even? Well, I guess in that respect, it's fair and even if everybody plays by the same rules that are delineated by a governing body that runs the thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you had a super conference that breaks away and has their own commissioner and runs it again, just almost a carbon copy of what's going on in the NFL, then I think you get a chance.
Part of what he also talked about was having basically a 48 to 60 team Super League. So basically saying there's got to be a threshold at a certain spend level, and then once you're there, you're kind of included in this. Let's just call it, Super League. Mm-hmm. You could be in any conference, but you're a part of the Super League, spending at a certain threshold. That one makes about the most sense to me in terms of a quote-unquote breakaway. It's funny, though, that it's being lumped into as a breakaway, considering, again, college football isn't under the NCAA's purview, right? They do everything except for the championship. So any of this Super League conversation would really revolve around the college football playoff as it currently does. So it really wouldn't be a breakaway. We keep talking about it as a breakaway. A breakaway for the SEC or of the Big Ten is something totally different. That'd be breaking away from the NCAA and the college football playoff to a degree. This would be sort of a rebranding of the playoff.
And fans hate the idea of a breakaway from the SEC, but fans love the idea of more geographically friendly matchups, which in a Super League format you would have in college football. All right, Trey Wallace is a senior national college sports reporter for Outkick and Fox. He will join us coming up after the break to get the latest insight into the Protect College Sports Act and many, many other topics with Trey. He's around the corner. We are powered by Modelo. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Just shy of the 45. Here's Greenwood to the perimeter with a first down. And into TCU territory, hit by Canada.
Comes out with a zone option here coming off. You see him holding the football there because he can throw the football. If Love makes a block there.
So he's come back this year, had to earn the job in fall camp, did so, and he's been great. This quick hitter from Wilson, and an immediate tackle in the open field. DeJon Stanley with the catch, but stopped well short. Wilson going to check down to the left. It's 1-on-2. A little hesitation move, and then Bernard gets shoved out of bounds.
Plays in the block here. Morgan's pass. Out complete, but short of the first down yardage.
Is Maava floating into the end zone.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. We are powered by Modelo, exclusively on TuneIn. Alongside R.A. Timken, I'm James Westling. We welcome in one of our favorites, Trey Wallace, the senior national college sports reporter for Outkick, among other platforms, including Fox. Trey, good morning. It is a big week, this week and next week, for the survival of the Protect College Sports Act. And it's a massive, 48-hour window right now. What's the latest?
Yeah, we're here. We're finally at that spot where if we're going to get this thing to the Senate floor and get a vote on it, it's probably going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So I would say the latest would be yesterday, which was Monday. Conference leaders from all the conferences involved in this did receive the revisions to the bill. Now, they received a summary, essentially an overview of what the changes are going to be. Now, to get it in full writing, the Senate's not going to wait. Here's the thing. The Senate's not going to waste their time putting this whole thing in writing, in language form and bill form, if the conferences don't agree with what the summary is. And in the summary, there's changes to this thing. There's, a salary cap. There's which conferences can expand, and by how many. There's going to be transfer news in this summary that comes out. So I'll be interested to see the responses from schools, conferences like the Big Ten or the SEC. I think we can all agree that, the Big 12, ACC, others, Pac-12, whatnot, are pretty on board with this. But this is going to be a big, week and a half span here to see if they can get it to the Senate floor to get a vote on it before the August recess. Congress members get the month of August off. Must be great. If it's going to happen, here we go, guys.
Yeah, so what are the biggest changes that, one, were necessary for the Big Ten and the SEC to approve and two, for this thing to get through?
Mind you, I probably will not see the full summary until later, but I have been kind of briefed on a few different things according to sources. I think when you look at this, it's going to be about the additions to the conference. That was a big sticking point. How many teams will the SEC and the Big Ten be allowed to add in the future, whenever that might be? I think other parts of this thing are making sure that this is a voluntary media rights pool. The SEC and the Big Ten, for whatever you think of them, they thought that there were too many loopholes in that section. That would say, hey, look, everything's voluntary. We promise, there's not going to be a way for others to come out and scrounge around more money because you're not involved in the pooling of media rights. So that's the other. I think with the one-time transfer, that's also going to be something to take a look at here. Do you get the one-time transfer and then do you have to sit out another season or an additional season as a penalty? So keep an eye out on that part. But overall, this really comes down to whether the SEC and the Big Ten feel comfortable enough. I will throw in there, I know folks have been seeing a lot about a retention salary cap. That is something that's been discussed. And essentially that would be, if it would go through, schools would have an additional $20 million to be able to retain players on their roster, and then have the house settlement money, which is 21.3, to be able to spread out among different sports, but mainly that goes to football. So I am very curious to the response if everything that I think is included in this summary, to how folks are going to feel about every school being allowed to spend that much money to retain players. Because I'll be honest with you guys, there are not a lot of schools out there with players on the roster that could potentially be coming back that are worth, let's just say, $20 million. Okay, so you're going to spread that out for, okay, fine, your quarterback's coming back, your running back's coming back, offensive lineman. But really, guys, what this is you're upping the salary cap. And you're saying, okay, let's just say 50 mil would be a number. And so that's where it's going to be very interesting, in my opinion, for other conferences and how they feel about this part, because you're essentially setting up these bigger schools that have, a lot deeper, bank accounts to be able to spend money on things outside the portal.
Right. Essentially, I see it the same way, where it just raises the salary cap. Can you expand, Trey, on the conference realignment piece? That is really interesting to me too.
Yeah, I think the conference realignment is a sticker in this one. Think about this. Maria Cantwell, senator from Washington, she has to look at this also through the eyes of schools like Oregon State, and even, just because of the Pac-12 tie, Washington State. What is the threshold here for the Big Ten to be able to add additional teams, for the SEC to be able to add additional teams? Because remember, everything was kind of pointed towards, when this whole thing started, the talking point was, oh my goodness, we're not going to let the SEC and the Big Ten form a super league, which I hated that term, super league. And it's like, and I know both conferences take a lot of flack, but they weren't looking to join forces like the Avengers. I mean, the SEC and the Big Ten, they don't really get along on most things, right. And I don't think folks out there would have cared to see, those two join up and add others. Now, I say all that to say this, guys. Like, do I think down the road, maybe 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, when some of these grant of rights and some of these television deals run out for certain conferences, that the SEC and the Big Ten would go raid, per se, and snag, North Carolina's been in the news. Like, I think there would be a fight between the SEC and the Big Ten to see who can go get North Carolina. Just as much as I think there would be a fight for Florida State, for Miami. I could go into Big 12 schools, obviously, that who could join this super league, per se, but we can't get cart before the horse, because there's so many television rights deals out there right now that don't expire until 2031, 2032. And so to break those deals is going to cost a lot of money.
Trey, I just saw that Ohio State has an agreement with J.P. Morgan Chase for a $17 million per year jersey patch.
Yeah.
I read that the jersey patch going rate was somewhere between 2 and 12. Well, I guess Ohio State, if anybody's going to command 17, it'd be them. But I keep hearing, Trey, that this is unsustainable, that these roster sizes and spending is unsustainable. What exactly is unsustainable?
So when you look at how much money is being spent, okay, guys, and you look at the funds that each conference or each school are trying to raise, and so you look at somebody like Ohio State, you sign a deal that's worth, and I've been told, cap would be 17 mil, lower end 15 mil a year for a jersey patch. And this is for all sports, by the way, at Ohio State. So it's actually a good deal. I don't know, how long that's going to be sustainable, not for somebody like Ohio State.
Right.
But you look into these other schools, guys, and they can't command this type of money.
No.
And so, and I give the Big 12 credit for going out and finding an additional sponsor for the conference that each school can use, and that money being spread out. But then I have to wonder, what can some of the schools in the ACC and in the Big 12, and look, even the Big 10 and the SEC, like, I don't, this is no shot, but Purdue or Northwestern or some of these others are there's not lines out their door, you know what I mean, to have deals of this magnitude. So that's this sustainable part that is going to be a problem for a lot of schools, because this just creates more additional revenue for what these institutions are trying to do. And that's $15-17 million a year. Like, you're paying for your athletic department, or you're at least paying for a coach. And so you're taking that off the books, all for a sponsorship agreement. So I think it's smart, but I also think there's a lot of catch up that's going to have to be done by others.
Right, and this magnifies the gap in market value for a school like Ohio State against Purdue or a Rutgers or some of those schools that you noted. And then this is revenue that, like anything in the Protect College Sports Act, like nothing there would have an impact on keeping schools from doing something like this, correct?
Yes, it would. There's nothing in here that I'm looking at right now that would prevent other schools from doing this. I think the way we look at it, like we just talked about a second ago, obviously while we were on the phone, I got what the summary is going to look like for the College Sports Act. And just to kind of give you a brief thing, we were talking about the retention pool from earlier. And I hate to get sidetracked for a second here,
Wait,
but
you
I will
have it
say,
like right now?
Yeah, so you're looking at the retention pool would be around $20 million a year for colleges across the country, and that would obviously come in the addition of the 21.3 that you're allowed to spend on the House settlement. So this part gets a little bit interesting moving forward. And how this part plays out. And then also there would be the closure of loopholes with private equity firms, meaning, somebody can't just jump into this thing and be able to buy out a team or a conference. So I think it's a very big deal. And I think also at the same time, my takeaway, guys, is you're going to be able to add additional teams to this. And then at the same time, it's okay, what does the enforcement look like from the House settlement, from the College Sports Commission, and how much federal help that they can get?
Great point. Trey Wallace, it's always fun to catch up with Trey, who's got great insight and information, all this stuff. I'm curious, from a legal's perspective, let's just say this gets past the Senate. Do you think that there will be suits that will be filed against some of the aspects of it? I guess my question is, when would legal challenges start? And from what you've heard, Trey, is there validity to any potential legal challenges within the bill?
I think you're going to have some problems when it comes to how's the best way to put this without agitating some folks. You got to get everybody on the same page here, and here's what I mean by that. You can't have this vote pass by like 2 congressional leaders, okay? Because then it's set up where you go to the House and you're screwed. This thing needs to pass by like 10, 12, 13 senators to give them the confidence to be able to take this to the House once everything settles down from their recess when they get back. Because, guys, these congressional leaders have a lot of other important things to do than college sports. I've said this before on here, and I'll say it again. You can't go stump in midterms in the state of Texas or the state of Colorado or wherever by saying, hey, I helped save college sports. That's just not going to fly with the average everyday citizen. I think what we're looking at right now is the response from the SEC and the Big Ten to this, and I will share it later on this morning, is going to be very key if this thing goes forward, because I do think the senators end up trying to push this through to the House floor. To the Senate floor, if the votes are there for them to pass this with flying colors. If not, guys, we're going to sit here stuck, and we're going to be talking about this into the football season.
Well said. Awesome stuff. Trey Wallace, national college sports reporter for Outkick and Fox, joining us here on Big 12 today. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your time.
You guys have a wonderful week. Football's almost here, so get your breaks in now, and we're going to be rolling here in about a month.
All right,
Thank you.
Trey. Thank you.
See you, Trey. Trey Wallace joining us here on Big 12 today. So this just broke while we were mid-interview with Trey, who does fantastic work, does a really nice job of breaking things down in an easy-to-understand manner. But we've got it in writing, the summary of the Protect College Sports revisions. Are you ready?
Yes.
The retention numbers in writing, $20 million on top of the cap. That's for the retention piece, not instead of it. The Big Ten and the SEC got most of their list that they had asked for. They wanted a cap. They wanted the retention fund. They got it. They got the $20 million above cap plus up to $5 million in women's NIL that can be credited towards it. So that possible ceiling like $25 mil. The institutional NIL deals, there's a lot of lawyer talk in this. Recruiting/tampering flexibility allows multiple recruiting windows 2 to 5 weeks after a season ends, rather than that one rigid period. The tampering rules now extend to high schoolers. There's a lot there.
Yeah. Tampering with high schoolers. I guess if you've committed, if you've signed, you can't talk to them. Look, I mean, so it's a $20 million cap with $20 million you can spend over the cap, right?
Correct.
We've heard Kyle Whittingham just told us there's $50 million rosters. How does that work?
Right.
Right?
You got to cut 10 mil?
So, I mean, it's obviously the above the cap spending. So, right, so in terms of like cap spend, would there be NIL that you could still have from an outside entity, basically, like endorsement opportunities and that kind of stuff? I would imagine yes. Sort of nullifies the cap, does it not?
Right.
I mean, I think one of the sticking points was they needed to have the multimedia rights partners included in outside vendor. They're trying to close out the idea of like boosters getting involved, which is hilarious to me because how you define booster is basically like who you want, who you don't want involved in your program. But yeah, I mean, if you can basically say like we're going to sign you for X, and the multimedia rights partner will be in charge of that NIL fund, then again you've created a bill with lots of words in it that don't really mean much.
Well said. We'll have more on this throughout the show, but coming up next, one of our favorite segments of the week, Valid or Void. Taman has the topics. We will validate or we will void them. Coming up around the corner before we chat with Morgan Scalley, the head coach at Utah. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, and now a big part of the brand new Big 12 Conference app. Features us right there at the top, breaking news, scores, and Big 12 Radio, courtesy of the very well-designed, tremendous layout, Big 12 Conference app. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio. T-Chains is our producer and our engineer, and each week he comes up with 5 topics for us to debate. It's valid or void. Are these blanket statements, are they valid, or do we void them? T-Chains, you have the floor. Ari, you have the lead.
All right, guys. Topic numero uno. By the way, I just want to say, one of the luxuries that I really get to have every day of sitting in this chair is that I get to listen to every second of every minute when you guys are talking. So I try to notice everything that you guys say.
Sounds painful.
So yesterday, you guys were talking about Iowa State. You guys talked with Jeff Woody, the former Iowa State running back. By the way, so it had me thinking, valid or void, Iowa State will win more than 5 games this season, because he talked about their expectations yesterday, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Valid or void?
Yeah, and he said, Jeff Woody said he wouldn't be surprised by anything between 5 and 8 wins. So I'll take Jeff's word for it and say that, yeah, they could win more than 5 games this year. I'll say valid, because we've seen Jimmy Rogers do it. He just overhauled a roster at Washington State and turned that program into a 6-win team. So the fact that he just did it and is once again bringing a group of different players from all different walks of life and all different places coming together to bring them together to win 5 or 6 games. I mean, can they win 5 games? Yeah. Can they win 6 games? Sure. Anything more than that, I'd be shocked about. Plus, I think they've got a schedule that's conducive to it.
Well, Vegas just called for a wellness check for you guys. I'm taking the under.
Under 5.
Under 5.
Under 4.
And a half. 5.5. Okay. There has to be a half in there.
Sure.
I'm taking the under because I see 6 almost built into their schedule losses. They could play above their talent level, but this is a team that has over 60 new players. This is one of only 2 teams in America that has not a single projected starter returning from the previous season. Everywhere else, even Eric Morris at Oklahoma State, there's at least one projected starter who was a part of the team even as a backup the previous season. Iowa State has none of those guys. They play at Iowa, they play Utah, they play at BYU, they play at Arizona, they play Oklahoma State, they play Kansas State, they play at Baylor and at UCF. They'd have to win on the road, and they'd have to protect their home turf against some teams like Oklahoma State, who's going to be sneaky, Kansas State, who could be in contention for a Big 12 championship game. I look at their schedule, and that's the number one reason why I void Iowa State winning more than 5.
You said built-in 6 losses. So what if they won the other games?
Built-in 6 losses with 7 or 8 that they could lose. Maybe even 10 that they could lose. So I've got the 6 built-in losses, and then I've got like 4 swing games. You go 2-2 in the swing games, and that's 8 losses.
Okay. All right.
That's the math.
Very optimistic about Iowa State.
That was James mathing the math. All right, next topic. And, God, so last week when we came back from break, James, you were still on vacation. Ari asked what I was looking forward to most about football season. And the answer really is football, because I'm really kind of tired about talking about this topic. But it has to be asked. You guys talked about it today. Valid or void? The Protect College Sports Act will get passed before the midterm elections. And the reason I ask this is because it keeps changing. It feels like one minute it's going to get passed, next minute it's not. And I said, will it get passed before the summer recess? Will it not? Yes, no. I don't know. So valid or void? I want your thoughts.
So the question is, will it pass
before the midterm elections in November?
I'm not sure I'd take the over on will it even get voted on. So will it pass? No. We've been down this road before with the SCORE Act covering similar ground. It failed twice. Just wasn't enough support.
Yeah, are you done?
Yeah, I think I'm done.
I'm going to avoid this as well. As much as it does appear like it's trending in the right direction, and it's clear that, like, politicians are committed to getting this thing passed or giving it at least the best shot to get it passed. You wonder if these changes, though good to the SEC and the Big Ten, might actually be something that the ACC and Big 12 supporters may not like. And does the way in which this is swinging in the direction for certain politicians actually swing the other direction for other politicians? And then we heard from Trey Wallace there, and I think it's really impactful. Like, if it passes by 1 or 2 votes, the House may send it back to the Senate anyways to say, like, hey, we're not going to vote on this because you guys can't agree on this quite yet. So I think there's still too many hurdles. It's certainly closer to the finish line than ever before, but that doesn't say much because this is the first bill to get past committee.
Right.
I'm going to just add this in there. I'm voiding it as well for the simple fact that I look at the Protect College Sports Act similar to how I look at daylight savings time. They can't get that passed, so I have no belief that they'll get this passed. Just throwing that out there.
But they're both great ideas.
Yes, exactly. All right, next one, Valor Void. So yesterday you guys were talking about Cincinnati, and it had me thinking about J.C. French because Cincinnati has a very good offensive line, but questions at quarterback. So Valor Void, J.C. French will exceed expectations due to how good Cincinnati's offensive line is.
What are expectations?
He'll have a good year. You'll look back at his year and you'll be like, wow, he was kind of an underrated player, and he, played really well, and he has a bright future.
Let's go top half quarterback in the Big 12.
All right, thank you. I would say void. Pro Football Focus ranked French 86th in quarterback grade at the FBS level last year at Georgia Southern. So 86th from a Sun Belt program. So he's coming into a tougher conference with better defenses. That's not going to account for how good this offensive line is because Cincinnati's offensive line is Big 12 good, but is it nationally good? Is it the top 5 offensive line of the country? Is it a top 10 offensive line of the country? Is it a top 15 offensive line of the country? It feels like we know what J.C. French is at this point in time. Like, there's just not much in terms of high ceiling. So for those reasons alone, I'll say void.
Yeah, I'm going to void this as well. I'm not sure that J.C. French will be the starting quarterback at Cincinnati by week 7 or 8 because they brought in a pretty high-profile FCS transfer who is the backup. And there are a lot of red flags when it comes to French and the way he plays. Like the offensive line, having that piece there, that's huge for any quarterback. But he had an offensive line that protected him at Georgia Southern. He had a big physical offensive line, and he still took 30 sacks. And he had more time to throw than almost every other quarterback at his same level. So that's concerning to me. For him to be a top 8 or even top 10 quarterback in this league, he would have to be much improved from the quarterback that he was at Georgia Southern. And Cincinnati's track record with quarterbacks, was Brendan Sorsby that much better last year than he was the previous season? If he was, Cincinnati would have a win in the month of November. So essentially, if I'm betting on J.C. French to have this massive uptick in skill set and the way he reads defenses, I just don't know that I see it. So I'm going to avoid it as well.
All right. We're going to stay with Cincinnati on the next topic.
No offense, Taman.
No offense. No offense. Well, no offense. We're going to stay on Cincinnati. Cincinnati hasn't won in November in quite some time. So, valid or void, Cincinnati will finally win a game in November. And just as a heads up, they play at Houston, at Iowa State, Colorado at home, and at BYU this season. Valid or void?
Those are 4 tough games. The one I look at is Colorado at home. On paper, coming into the season where we have these teams ranked, that should be a pivot game or a game that Cincinnati can win. But that late in the year, I have more trust in the depth that Colorado has versus the depth at Cincinnati. And that Cincinnati offensive line is getting a tremendous amount of attention, and it's well-deserved. But it takes just one injury to one of those big 3, and your offensive line looks incredibly different. So yeah. I don't. If the question is, will they win a game in November? Looking at this schedule right now, I would say no.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid this as well. I mean, we put Cincinnati 16th in our consensus poll for a reason. I think there's certainly reason for optimism, and maybe they could beat Iowa State or Colorado. Certainly, Houston and BYU. At BYU are the other two games. So you've got Houston at home, at Iowa State, Colorado at home, and at BYU. The one I would point to would be Colorado at home. But even then, to your point, like I still trust the talent and depth of Colorado over Cincinnati, even with the road game. So I'll say void. Be 3 straight years of not winning a November game, and that'll be all it is for Scott Satterfield.
You guys are Void Central.
We are Void City, Taman.
Void City.
We're angry, we're disgruntled, and we're very put off and offended personally.
No, it's the heat outside, not in the studio. It's the heat outside that's making you guys angry. Okay, last topic, guys. So the Memphis head coach, Charles Huff at AAC Media Days, I should say, I almost said ACC, discussed about the potential about being in a Power 4 conference. So it had me thinking, will Memphis be the next school to join the Big 12? Valid or void?
No, void. James?
That's it? Full stop?
Yeah, no. No void. If Memphis is the next addition to the Big 12, Big 12 is in big trouble. Big trouble.
So I can see why our friends at Heartland College Sports chimed in on this topic. Memphis has kind of gone down the same path as BYU did to get in this league, in that they continued to make their pitch and the Big 12 continued to say no, until eventually the Big 12 was in a position to let BYU into this league, and that's worked out very well. But for Memphis, and they've been playing the long game for years, their president has spent like 14-plus months visiting Power 4 campuses, trying to committee for Memphis to get to a Power 4 conference. They've completely revitalized, with major renovations and upgrades, their stadium, which desperately needed it. But no. I look at the other candidates that would be out there potentially on the table, even maybe a UConn. I think the Big 12 could go further west with Oregon State or Washington State or Boise State. Memphis just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I do not see the Big 12 adding any members that are not current Power Conference members, and that would be the ACC. If the ACC implodes and some members go to the SEC, some go to the Big 10, the Big 12 would add. If the Big 12 did not add Memphis when they added Cincinnati and Houston and BYU, and UCF, then they ain't adding Memphis, because Memphis was very much at the table with everybody else, and they decided on UCF, Cincinnati, specifically from the American, and Houston over Memphis.
And Ryan Silverfield, who's now at Arkansas, had everything he could have possibly wanted at Memphis, and he still left for an SEC job that is a bottom feeder SEC job. The other kind of group of six, and I agree with you on the ACC piece, and that's best case scenario here for that. USF, South Florida, is a team that, if there's another wave of group of sixes going to power conferences, and whether that's the Big 12 plucking some ACC and they've got a backfill, USF is the next school I'd keep an eye on. They've got a huge alumni base, they've got a huge endowment fund, and they've got a brand new stadium.
Yeah, it's really interesting. If Alex Golesh had been at USF earlier, there's a chance that USF might be in the Big 12 and not UCF. Because that program, when launched under Sam Levitt, had a ton of success, was becoming a national brand. Sam Levitt.
Jim Levitt.
Thank you, Jim Levitt. Definitely was not launched under Sam Levitt. That'd be weird. Been like a high schooler at that point, probably in middle school, grade school. He was in kindergarten when that program was launched.
This has become a bit. My favorite thing on this show is when you just brain fart names.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us.
Yes.
But Will Howard, that's a classic. Sam Levitt has entered the name jar.
Yes.
But sorry, not to interrupt.
No, not at all.
Jim Levitt had some really good teams. Like, what was it, 09? They were like 11-0 and number 1 in the BCS?
Beat Kansas after Kansas won the Orange Bowl with Todd Reesing back. That was a good Kansas team they beat in 2009. Yeah. I mean, if that program had continued on the trajectory, they would be in the Big 12 right now. I have no doubt about it. UCF leveraged the opportunity they had with Scott Frost to build a larger national brand, and that's what delivered them to the Big 12.
And USF is in a major market. They're in Tampa. Keep an eye on the
UCF's in a major market, too. Don't poo-poo Orlando.
They're both in big cities. Orlando's wonderful. All right, Taman. That's valid or void. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I got, guys.
we void every one of them?
I think we did.
No,
Was there a valid in
Ari
there?
validated Iowa State winning 5 games.
That's right.
And to be fair, the question was more than 5 games, and I could find 5 wins, so it was barely a validation.
Some negative Knicks today in studio. It's us. Morgan Scalley, he's Mr. Positivity, the new Utah football head coach. He's been on staff for 20 years. This is our interview that we had with Coach Scalley at Big 12 Football Media Days. It is coming up after this timeout. This is Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. He's Ari, I'm James. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
This is a defense that came in top 5 in the country in sacks. Bray gets another touch, breaks another tackle, cuts it back, and finally is going to...
For this Utah offense, I think he has done a tremendous job coming over from New Mexico.
Yeah, coming in from the Lobos. There goes Parker. Way shot. Show me the way to the end zone.
+. It wasn't hurdles, it was like steeplechase. Parker for 12 now. In stride. Going wet football. Rodgers carries, and it's a first down. Ute.
Opportunity to get points before the half.
Dampier was trying to set that up and was very patient. And look at Dampier with the power burst. He ran through a couple different...
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio at the Big 12 Conference Football Media Days. Ari Timken, James Westling with you, also watching us on Big 12 Studios. And for Utah, the Morgan Scalley era officially begins. Longtime head coach in waiting, defensive coordinator, 19 years on staff. So when we say that, the Morgan Scalley era begins, what comes to mind?
I'm not that important. It's all about the players. I've loved being a part of the University of Utah program. It's always been a dream of mine, being a head coach. It's definitely surreal, but ultimately I understand it's players that win games and not myself.
What might be different about the Utah football program with you in charge?
Oh, I don't know. I think every coach has to be true to themselves, and you know, I'm a different personality than Kyle. I think the recipe to win stays the same. You know, Kyle knows inside and out what it takes to win at this level. So I would probably say the recipe stays the same, but how the meal's prepared is a little bit different, you know, just with my personality, my flair.
And I mean, you know, Kyle took a defense from his dad at Utah, right? So it predates Kyle too. How much is this Utah defense still Fred Whittingham's defense?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, no, the game's evolved.
Right.
Ultimately, it's not scheme. I mean, I could have a great scheme with guys that don't tackle, and the scheme doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So it's about behavior. It's teaching elite behavior and great fundamentals and technique. You have to be physical. It's a game that exploits those that are soft. And so, you know, at the highest levels of competition, that's where physicality has to be a premium. And you got to practice that way.
So more about the Jimmies and Joes than X's and O's in some ways.
Yeah. Oh.
But I love the piece about preparation, because I've always said this about Utah football teams. Like, over the years, you've had NFL players and lots of good ones, but it's like every year you could have new personnel on defense, and it didn't matter the names of the players because those guys come up with the same technique, the same training. Like that is, to me, the pudding, the secret ingredient, and the proof is in the pudding, because the players, you know, it's a new group on the defensive line. And every year it was like, you know, and those guys perform. I mean, it's just a staple within Utah's program. And I think that's the thing that's like, I still see that, because you've been a part of that as long as anybody.
Well, it's, you know, when there's continuity, you have an understanding of what you're looking for in a recruit, what you're looking for in a specific position. And so you can recruit to that, and you have confidence in it because it's been successful. There are not many programs. I think there's 7 programs in college football that have had 3 or less coaching changes since I've been at the University of Utah.
Wow.
The winning percentage of those teams is like 68%.
Go figure.
Anyone that's had more than that, their winning percentage is at 54%. So continuity, there's something to continuity, there's something to being able to establish a culture and recruit to it.
So, Coach, on paper, you know, you have to replace 2 first-round NFL draft picks on the offensive line.
Is that just on paper? I mean, you don't have to do it on the field.
I mean,
because if I can have those guys on the field, I'm good.
Right. Like, maybe you've got clones.
Okay.
You know, like in the building somewhere. I don't know. We've been seeing, you know, DNA is a whole thing. All right. So how do you do that?
Well, I first of all, Jordan Gross is an amazing offensive line coach, and I wanted a great teacher. You know, Jim Harding was a great teacher, a very good offensive line coach. Went with Kyle to Michigan. But you take a look at what we did in the bowl game. You did it without those guys. And what fires me up every single year are the guys that have worked their tails off, that have been kind of waiting in the background to have their shot. And now you've got Zairway Williams that's got his opportunity, right? You've got Ike Garcia. You've got Cedric Jefferson, these guys that we brought in from the transfer portal. They've got great coaching from Jordan Gross. The development during the offseason has been unbelievable. So at the end of the day, the game's played on the field, and we'll find out. But I'm very excited for these guys, the progress they've made.
Well, and Williams he's pretty new to football, right? Didn't he grow up a basketball player? And
there took definitely some development there, where he'd had to put on weight, and his body wasn't necessarily used to it, but he's finally gotten to that point now, both physically and mentally where he is ready for this moment.
He's a dude.
I'm excited for him.
Far be it from me to tell Kevin McGivens how to call plays and run an offense, but
You're going to do it?
so I mean, you had a pretty good running game last year, yes?
Yes.
Those guys are all back,
No question.
including your backup quarterback who can run very fast. So, like, I don't know, 20, 21 personnel. You have Bird Ficklin and Wayshawn Parker in the backfield with Devin Dampier and who has the ball? I don't know. I've never called plays. I've never been offensive coordinator. It feels like you got three guys in the same backfield that could potentially be extremely disruptive in the run game.
Well, if you've studied anything that Kevin's done, he's worked with multiple personnel groups. He's been in a 21 personnel offense, a 10 personnel spread offense. Like, he's all about getting the ball to his playmakers. Very creative, very innovative. Last year, Utah State, you saw 3 running back field sets, inverted bone stuff. So he's very creative, understands that it's about the players, not the plays. And we've got some really good ones. And, Bird, we talk about Bird and Devin, their development, under Coach McGivern, under Ryan Gunderson, our quarterback coach, has been awesome. So we're definitely going to be creative and innovative. And that's, one of the big reasons that Kevin came on board.
Utah head coach Morgan Scally with us here at Big 12 Football Media Days. So in basketball, like Dusty May wins a national championship and leaves for the NBA. And he said, like, right after they win the title, the next day he has to have like exit meetings and re-recruit his guys. That happens a lot in college football, but you've got Devin Dampier back. I mean, your star, your quarterback. So take us through the process of essentially him coming back to Utah. What were those conversations like, and what does he mean to your program?
Well, I think number one was to establish the fact that, what I wanted to do offensively. And it's a tough position to be in for the young man. He'd been with Jason at New Mexico, came with Jason to the University of Utah, and all of a sudden now Jason's gone to Michigan. That's a tough spot to be in. And I just, I just let him know, brother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that, and we want you here. We want this to be an unbelievable ending, for you. And let's go win and do something special and put an awesome end to this journey for you in college football.
I love that. I mean, that's amazing. What position group are you really excited about this year?
Well, I'm excited for the offensive line simply because everyone keeps talking about how are we going to replace those guys. I'm excited for their moment. But I'm also excited for the wide receiver group. This is a group I think we're as deep as we've ever been at the University of Utah. The guys that we brought in Braden Pagan, Kyrie Scholes, Ricky Johnson, combined with the guys that we've already had in the program. You got Dadron Zipperer, you've got Creed Whitmore, Larry Simmons, Monica Carvalho, these guys. It's been so fun to watch them progress. Tobias Merriweather. This is going to be a fun group to watch.
Defensively, Ari alluded to this earlier. Number one, do you have a defensive back who goes, is his name Rabbit?
Rabbit Evans.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Number one. Number two, again, you have a lot of guys within the program that now it's their moment. So defensively, what position group are you most excited about?
I would say just like the offensive line, defensive line, we lost some guys both to the portal, to graduation. I'm excited for these guys to show up in a big way. Lance Holtzclaw came on end of last year, had 2 sacks in the bowl game. He's going to be a force, the defensive end spot. Ethan Day, who's a transfer from North Texas. And then you got Paul Fitzgerald, who's a guy that didn't play for us much last year because of injury. He is so hungry to get back out there. Cash Dillon's a guy that was a local kid. There's, our defensive tackles. Again, it's that, okay, boys, here we go. Who's going to be that guy? Every year there's guys that fans don't necessarily know about,
right,
that all of a sudden, bam, and unbelievable season. So I'm excited for those guys and what they're about to do.
Are you happy to get Jay Hill out of the conference at the very least?
He's a dang good coach.
He's a dang good coach.
Very good coach, and he's going to do well for Michigan. I wish those guys nothing but success.
Yeah, Kyle didn't just take Utah guys with him. He took a BYU guy with him, too.
Coach, man, we are super excited to have you at this level, in this league. Utah football. You guys had an incredible year last year, and we're excited to see what 2026 brings to the table. We
Congrats
appreciate
to
your
you,
time.
man. Well deserved. You know, you're a great representation of this conference and all the time you spent at Utah, man. Congratulations to you for getting this
Awesome
opportunity.
university. Just grateful to be a part of it. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate the job you two do.
Thanks, Coach. That is Utah head coach Morgan Scalley here at Big 12 Football Media Days, presented by Modelo. We are watched on Big 12 Studios, and you're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn.
Out to the edge and going nowhere. Logan Fano shows up again, this time in the run game to make it a 3rd down and long.
Toss. Ishaw can't get past Fano. It's going to bring up 3rd down.
5-man front. Caden Salter be ready for pressure.
Again, here it comes, and there it goes. Another sack. Fano, Leia in a race to the quarterback, sandwich Salter down.
Not getting a lot of shots at offensive line. Pressure comes. Picked up at least for a moment. Now Sims trying to get to the corner, and he sort of did.
Iowa State back in Boulder 2 weeks ago. Salter pressure, gets rid of it, and heaves it out of bounds. His running back Micah Welch was in the area, but it's pick your poison. poison up front. Logan Fano applies it against
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you the full-time fan by Modelo. You just heard from Morgan Scally, the Utah head football coach. We are awaiting Brett Ciancia, the owner of Pick Six Previews and Pick6Previews.com. He joins us now here on Big 12 Radio with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Brett, your magazine, the #1 most accurate Power 4 preview since 2012. What does that mean?
Thanks for having me on, guys. Pick Six Previews, it's the 15th annual, and there's a website out there called Stassen who grades all the publications, all the magazines that you see on newsstands, everything online. They grade the conference predictions every year by the magazines. And over the last 10 years, the last 5 years, you name it, Pick Six Previews is #1 in the overall standings. So it's a point of pride for me. It's a one-man company. Like I said, launched this thing 15 years ago, and it's really a passion of mine. So excited to break down the 2026 edition. We had the biggest coaching carousel we've ever seen, biggest transfer portal we've ever seen with thousands of guys moving around. So lots to get into. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, so what goes into that? What do you think makes you the most accurate?
Yeah, well, I call it a never-ending research project. I mean, it's a year-round, never-ending research deal, and it starts in the fall. I watch 4 screens for 14 hours every Saturday, as much live action as I can find. Sunday and Monday, I'm looking at condensed games and highlights and catching up on what I missed. Then I'm putting together my stat package, my weekly pick package called Pick 6 Plus. I ship that out. But then it really starts in January. That's when the season concludes. We have a national champion crowned, and then I can start to do my advanced stats, my numbers, look at the transfer portal, talk to head coaches, talk to coordinators, talk to local media. It's it's a full year project. So and then it's a one-man show. So I'm writing it. I'm the editor. I'm the designer. I got to do it all. So this is the best time of year. You caught me at a good time. We just published 2026, and now is the fun part. You can talk about it. It's talking season.
Yeah, major props to you, a one-man band, and it is quite impressive. You're also a Heisman voter. Pick6Previews.com. Brett, let's dive into the Big 12. Who do you like to win the league, and how do you think the Big 12 shakes out this year?
Yeah, well, I was a little bit shocked at the Big 12 media days when the coaches did their poll. They picked BYU to win it. And, BYU is no slouch. They're going to be really tough again. But I don't know how you can look at this thing and not pick Texas Tech. They're the defending champions. They really dominated through their schedule last year. And they bring a lot back through the transfer portal this cycle around, too. And I've got 2 talent numbers for you. One, looking at the transfer portal, you look at 4-star transfers. Texas Tech signed 20 the last 2 years combined. The average Big 12 team signed 2. So you got 20-2 through the transfer portal. And then another outlook, I know we're early on this, but looking at the future NFL draft, mock consensus, the East-West Shrine Bowl has an NFL watch list. Looking at some pro scouting, Texas Tech has 27 future pro prospects. The next closest is 12 with TCU. So wow. 27-12. They're just on a different playing field right now in terms of roster construction and budget and all those factors. Great coaches, too. So I've got Texas Tech to win the conference.
Do you see the upside with them in terms of the playoff? They won the conference, dominated last year. They have a really easy schedule in the conference this year. Do you think that those numbers will reflect themselves in the playoff a little bit better than they did this past year?
Yeah, I think so. And when you look back at last year's team, I think it was probably the best defense in America, at least top 3 in the country on defense. And while they lose Jacob Rodriguez and they lose 4 draft picks to the pros from the defensive line, I think they reloaded pretty well from the portal. You bring in Austin Romaine, a 2-time Big 12 player, and then Jerry Maguire, the head coach, was quoted saying, "Yes, we lost 4 draft picks on the line, but we signed 4 future draft picks on the line." He's very confident with what they brought in. With guys like Adam Trick and Trey White. They got A.J. Holmes coming back there. So, anyways, I love the defense again. It's all about what they can get at quarterback because last year in the playoff, Baron Morton, he struggled. Offensive line struggled against Oregon. How are they going to fare against a really elite, January-type bracket? So, we'll see. I think they win the conference. Maybe if they round into form on offense more this time around, they can put some points up, make a deeper run.
Yeah, Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond is actually joining us here in about 45 minutes on the show. So let's go there. How do you evaluate the Texas Tech quarterback position? And is it average in this league? Is it above average? How much did that factor in to you having them as the preseason champs?
I think it's above average for sure. I think that he's an asset. And what I like about Will is that he came in last year, and it was a tight ball game against Utah. It was either 13-10 or 13-13. It was a tie game, close game in the 4th. against Utah. He comes in, he leads 4 straight scoring drives against a Utah defense that we all know is a tough one every year. So he turned a close game into a blowout win. And I know that's a small sample size, but we saw him a little bit the year prior, I believe. And I like what Texas Tech has with Will Hammond. He's a former top 200 prospect, has flashed in those game scenarios like we talked about. I know he's coming off an injury, and I'll be curious to hear what he says about that when you talk to him. But no, I trust him a lot. I think they've got a winner there at quarterback. And, when I go down this roster, I just don't see many holes in it. And it's all about whether this next wave of transfers is going to live up to standard. And I think they will. They've got an eye for it, this coaching staff. So, yeah, I trust Texas Tech.
Who are some surprise teams that you see in the Big 12 this year?
Well, I think it would be pretty consensus if you talk to everybody. You would have Texas Tech and BYU returning to play each other in the Big 12 title game. Then from there, I have Utah third, but really the sleeper that I think I'm higher on than most is TCU. I've got them actually in my top 25. I've got them fourth in the Big 12, right there in contention for a Big 12 title spot. And it's been a quiet offseason for them. You hear about the bigger headlines elsewhere. You hear about the Texas Tech transfer portal. You hear about the other coaching changes in the conference. At TCU, what they did well was they recruited from the high school level year after year after year. I think if you look at 2023 through 25, number one in the conference every year in high school recruiting. So Sonny Dykes, his plan this year was, hey, don't worry about the transfer portal. We just got to retain all these former 4-star kids we've recruited, keep developing them, bring them back to Fort Worth. And he did that. Every starter's back that could have gone elsewhere, except, of course, at quarterback with Josh Hoover departing. So that's a question. But you look at how they've recruited, I like it. It's almost like a talent play there with Texas Tech. So flying under the radar is TCU. I like them a lot this year.
Okay, so you have Tech 1, BYU 2, Utah 3, and TCU 4. Who goes like 5 through 8 or 9 for you?
Yeah, I mean, every year with Pick Six previews with the magazine, there's always a couple spots when I'm doing these conference predictions where it's just a total logjam of teams. And I found that this year, this was the spot in the whole magazine, the middle of the Big 12, because after you get past Utah and TCU, for me, you could argue 5 through 12. These teams are all so close. They all have serious strengths and some weaknesses and some uncertainties heading into 2026. So, I went Houston and K-State next in line. With Houston, you won 10 games last year. Willie Fritz is a great coach. They had another round of non-AQ and FCS transfers coming up the ranks. Connor Wigman back at quarterback. Kansas State I have also there at 6th place. Colin Klein taking over. And he's reunited with this quarterback, Avery Johnson, a guy he recruited to Manhattan a couple years back before he left for A&M. So Kansas State, they also did well from the transfer portal on defense. So I like them up there, and a really easy schedule draw too. And then the Arizonas. So totally different scenarios here. Arizona State is a wide open roster. It's all transfer portal. Most of that core that won the conference 2 years ago is now gone, either to the pros or graduated. So it's a whole new look team. I think they did well from the portal. And then with Arizona, you have Noah Fafita coming back, the all-conference quarterback. They put some more pieces around him on offense, but they lose that generational type secondary. All 4 defensive backs were drafted in the pros. Incredible after a number 1 pass defense season. So I think a downgrade there on their defense, especially in pass. So that's where I've got it. But, hey, you could argue so many different teams to finish 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way down. It's wide open. That's why we love this conference.
What do you think of the new coaches? There's obviously a ton of optimism around Oklahoma State with Eric Morris. What about Colin Klein, Morgan Scalley? Give us a sense here of your feeling of the new coaches in the Big 12.
Yeah, well, with Utah, it almost doesn't really feel that new. I mean, I put this in the magazine. To me, Utah is still Utah. We know what we're getting with them. I've talked to Coach Scalley a couple seasons. I really enjoy talking to him, and I love his passion for the game, for University of Utah. He's been there 25 straight years, even as a player. So I love what they have there built. It's the same culture, the same toughness, and I love what they have there with Devin Dampier at quarterback. So I know what I'm getting with Utah. I think that with Oklahoma State, it's a little bit more of a wild card. At least defensively, because we know on offense we're going to get that Eric Morris air raid, 4 wide receiver look that lit up the scoreboard, lit up the stat sheet last year at North Texas. And I had a chance to talk to him, and I asked, how's that transition going to be from the AAC up to the Big 12? And he said right back to me, I was born in the Big 12. He grew up in the system and these kind of stadiums, these schemes. So he's ready for it, and he's got quite the track record of building offenses. And it's really the whole core of that North Texas team. You got the quarterback, the running back, all the receivers are up. So you pair that with, it is a total mystery on their defense. That's why I've got them down there at 9th in the conference. But they're going to be a tough out every Saturday if they're putting up their 30 or 40 points a game.
Brett Ciancia is the owner of Pick Six Previews, the #1 most accurate preview magazine the last decade plus. Pick6previews.com is the website to order yours today. Brett, you mentioned like K-State and their schedule. We think Utah has a really friendly schedule, at least like the first half of the season, to build some momentum and iron out some of the kinks with the new coach, even though he's been there. How much of the schedule plays into your preseason projections?
Oh, it's huge. It's definitely huge. Now, I like to do that as the final step. You don't want to go out of order because other people will first look at schedule and then try and backload and try and fit the scenario. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, this team has an easier schedule. I think that their talent is now better for some. So you have to go in the right direction. I do all the talent. I do all the position by position write-ups and previews. At the final stage, then I look at schedule, and that's kind of a good tiebreaker. That could move a team up a couple spots up the conference ladder there. Case in point was Arizona this year. Team was really strong last year. We talked about them. Got to 9 wins, breakout season last year. But they draw the hardest schedule here. They draw the top 6 in the entire Big 12. I mean, after a couple of close games last year that went their way, I think those tend to reverse year over year. And then just drawing that brutal schedule, I see a downgrade. So you're right. I mean, especially with these super conferences with a 9-game conference schedule, the teams you play are so scattered that really some teams can hit the lottery on this and some end up going through a total gauntlet. So you're right. That does make a difference. Usually a tiebreaker, usually a spot or two difference for me.
Brett, what was kind of the most interesting thing that you found in doing your research on the Big 12 for this?
Well, you know, I always talk transfer portal. I know that's the easy thing, but I was looking back to my first preview magazine back in 2012, and think back to this era, guys. We had the BCS. It was a 2-team, 1 versus 2. We had the Big East. We had the Pac-10. It was a whole different world. And I say this because I had a tiny little part of the page. It was called The Transfers, and there was like 20 names in the whole country. I thought it was so cool. These are the 20 people that are transferring colleges. And now you look at this, it's like 10-fold or 100-fold. You got 2,000 players transferring around. So I think one of the cool things I do in the book is I put together not only a All-America team, an All-Big 12 team, but I've got an all-transfer team in there too. So you can see the best at each position, where they ended up. And if you look at the Big 12 page, it's a lot of orange for Oklahoma State on offense, and then on defense, it's a lot of red and black for Texas Tech. So you get a feel of who reloaded from the portal. But coolest thing from the Big 12, I'd say, was talking to head coaches. I love talking to head coaches and coordinators, hearing about their new schemes, what they're installing, their program strategies with branding and recruiting. So I actually referenced the 2 guys I talked to there with Morgan Scally and Eric Morris, but trying to get to talk to as many as I can every year. It's the coolest part.
Brett is the owner of Pick Six Previews and Pick6previews.com. Brett, in terms of players in this league, who are guys that you think are underrated, maybe better than people are giving them credit for, and just who stands out in that regard?
Yeah, well, I want to give BYU a little love here because, you know, they had a special season last year, and I know they lost to Tech twice, but they beat everybody else, and including their rival Utah. And really physical program that Kalani Sitake has built. And I want to give this guy the spotlight because you always hear about Bear Bachmeier and LJ Martin, the running back. I want to talk Keanu Tanavasa, their big nose tackle, the big dog in the middle there, because he really sets the point. He can absorb a couple gaps there, space eater, and then it lets these linebackers really fill. And they've got good ones there, too, with Glasgow back, and they signed the #1 linebacker in the country through the portal with Cade Ulave. So, but Tanavasa, the big guy in the middle, he really sets the point and lets the other playmakers make plays. So I want to give him his due. I've got him on my first team All Big 12 defense. And then, I'll throw in a couple quarterbacks. I mean, Mestamaker coming up from North Texas, coming to Oklahoma State. He's going to get his 4,000-plus passing yards again. And Devin Dampier from Utah. This guy, if you watch him, he's so elusive in the pocket. You can't lay a finger on him in pass rush. He's so fast. He can tuck it and run, too. He can score from anywhere on the field. So I feel with Dampier at quarterback that Utah remains a threat despite losing so much of their lines of scrimmage. So, a lot of playmakers to talk about. I thought they added a lot from the portal to the conference, a lot of future pros, a lot of future all-conference guys. So it's going to be another exciting season.
How many teams from the Big 12 do you have in the college football playoff?
I've got just one, and I know that that's an unpopular answer here on the Big 12 show, but I have Texas Tech, and I think that they are so dominant this year again. They're going to run the table again and get into the Big 12 title game. But here's your bet here is that if somebody upsets Texas Tech there on December 2nd in Dallas in the conference title game, that upset team would get the auto bid, and then I think Texas Tech might be strong enough resume-wise to still back into an at-large spot. It reminds me of in March Madness when you talk about those conference tournaments where you have a bid thief, a bid steal. So I think that, a BYU, a Utah, a TCU, a Houston, even one of the Arizona teams, if they get into the conference title game and pull that upset, now you're talking there's 2 automatics from the league. So, that's a way to back into getting 2. But I see Texas Tech as the team.
Yeah, we'd take it. We would take it. Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews. Love the way you put this together. Really impressive stuff. Congrats on all the success, the criteria that you use. Super detailed. And thanks for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Good luck this season. I can't wait to talk again.
All right, man. Brett Ciancia, the owner of Pick 6 Previews, the #1 most accurate college football preview magazine since 2014. Pick6previews.com. He has Texas Tech 1. He has BYU 2. He has Utah 3. And then TCU in the top 4 in the Big 12. Probably his biggest surprise team as we get set for the season.
I mean, do you learn anything there?
I learned that TCU, like him having TCU 4th, I think says a lot about their talent level. Also learning that TCU has 12 potential future NFL draft picks, second most in the conference. That is a new nugget to me and new information. So I look at TCU, a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I would say with TCU, I think it's talent and potential that's not the problem. More so, it's probably their schedule. Just comparing TCU schedule to Texas Tech's, and it's like they're in different. Almost seems like they're in different conferences to a degree. So I would say the one thing holding TCU back is the schedule. They just got a really tough draw here this year, but they are super talented. I mean, nobody's recruited at the level that TCU has as consistently as they have, and we're seeing the benefits of that. I would say the other part is he maybe wasn't as high on some of the teams that we are. He's much higher in TCU than we are because of that talent piece, and I think using that as a guide for success is probably a good way to look at it.
And the 2 teams that stick out, like he had Oklahoma State and Kansas State, both quite a bit lower than we did in our preseason poll. Coming up next year on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, we are recapping our Big 12 Football Media Day conversations with players and coaches. We highlight Kansas and Colorado after the break, and we're about 20 minutes away from Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond joining us here on the show. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo on TuneIn. Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. He's on social at RE Sports, ARI Sports. I'm on social at James Westling. Ari Timken, James Westling with you here on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Today we look at your Kansas Jayhawks and your sleeper team, the Colorado Buffaloes. Has anything changed since media days or post-media days in terms of how you feel about Kansas for this season?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think we have them 14th in our consensus. I would say I'm a little bit higher on them now. Probably not as high in Colorado. So I think these are two teams that are really interesting because it feels like a lot has changed in terms of my perception of them heading into the season relative to where we were a couple of weeks ago when we did the consensus rankings.
Mm-hmm. I think the two most drastic differences would be at the quarterback position. KU, they're polar opposites. KU had the veteran, experienced Jalen Daniels, who started a billion games. He's now gone, and we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Colorado had a carousel of quarterbacks last year. They played as many as 5. They've got their guy, though, in Julian Lewis, who will be a true sophomore. Defensively, both teams had issues last year. Both teams have to clean that up. So there's some parallels, but I see a lot more discrepancies between the two.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I guess the parallel to me would be that I probably thought of Colorado a little bit too highly. They were kind of a surprise team for me, and kind of the more I look into them, the more I'm a little bit pessimistic about that.
Yeah, what changed the most?
I just think, last week we talked a lot about, some of these graphs that our buddy put together from, golly, what's his name?
Parker?
Yeah, Parker Fleming, thank you. Kind of cross-referencing certain, preseason metrics, like where is Julian Lewis thought of in a quarterback tier versus the SP plus talent level of the offense, strength of schedule metrics. I think some of those things don't exactly align with surprise season for Colorado. The one thing that I really liked with Colorado is the fit with offensive coordinator and quarterback, and I think that this is going to be the most effective running back ground game that Colorado has had. But it's hard to overlook some of the other sort of damning aspects of this when it comes to strength of schedule, when it comes to sort of the talent level on offense and a lot of other factors.
Yeah, and that's a major parallel, is both teams have new offensive coordinators. It's a return for Kansas of Andy Kotelnicki, and they're both very proven and both operate, I don't like to use the word gimmicky, but it's a different scheme for both programs offensively than what teams normally run.
Well, and SP Plus could be an evaluation of the players and personnel from a talent level perspective. Kansas has, in terms of the quarterback, major question marks at quarterback, but a lot of talent on the offense. And that's sort of the opposite of Colorado. Colorado's more confirmed and more firm with their quarterback, but maybe doesn't have as much talent around him as Kansas does.
Yeah, good point. So let's start with the coaches. Here's Kansas coach Lance Leipold talking about the impact of the return of offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, who was at Penn State the last 2 years.
Well, I think like any of us that has gone through the process of changing jobs and returning, you hit some of the things that you remember, that how we operate and what we did. But he also brings a lot of good insight of different things. And when you have someone, as we say it for what it is, the Big Ten and SEC sometimes operate a little bit differently.
Yes.
And resources and other ways of operation. And he's brought some of those to light for us in many different ways in what we're doing. When he came back and as we talked about, okay, what type of role, what is it going to be? I said, I want more input. I want your ideas. I want you're going to be involved in some things. And with that associate head coach title, there's going to be things that maybe aren't just offensively related that I want your input on. And he's been outstanding. And within 24 hours in the building, I could tell that it was the old Andy. We were back operating differently. And the thing is, Andy's a constant learner. He challenges ideas. I love the way he thinks. He makes me think differently, and he's making our football program better.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say the biggest addition for Kansas this offseason was bringing Andy Kotelnicki back. When you look back the last 2 years, and as much as we want to lay the blame at Jalen Daniels, and certainly there's reason for it in terms of really bad spots for turnovers and just things that you shouldn't see a player that's a 6th year, 5th year starting quarterback make. I would say a lot of that had to do with the fact they had new offensive coordinators the last 2 years. I mean, think about Jalen Daniels, who had Andy Kotelnicki, then goes to Grimes, and then to his quarterbacks coach, who probably should have been elevated to OC instead of Grimes the year before. So, I mean, that's 3 different OCs in the last 3 years. This will help to firm that up. Kotelnicki seems like if he isn't, should be a coach in waiting at Kansas. I'm surprised he hasn't been thought of more as a head coach. I think that's a big reason why he left Kansas. It's funny because the way it's being positioned is, well, it didn't really work out at Penn State. I mean, I would say it did. I know that he lost the job because of the head coach, but I think when you look at what Penn State was able to do on offense the last couple of years with Kotelnicki, I mean, those are things in statistics and numbers they were not putting up. So I would say it did work. And that Kotelnicki coming back is as good of an addition as Kansas has made. And as we just heard there from Lance Leipold, like he's taking on a much larger role. I think in some ways Leipold might be positioning him for the coach in waiting.
I mean, James Franklin got fired at Penn State because they couldn't stop anybody. They were losing games 42-40. They weren't 10-7. And he lost his starting quarterback, an NFL prospect, like week 2. So it's huge. And I didn't know, today I learned that Andy Kotelnicki has the associate head coach title and is going to be very involved in some of the actual coaching decisions on Saturdays, which to me says, hey, maybe Kansas is going to be a little bit more assertive and aggressive in terms of going for it in late game situations when they've been punting, and it has cost them bowl appearances the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. Lance Leipold, in many ways, in many respects, plays not to lose. In football, you've got to be a little bit more aggressive, and that's not just like wheels off all the time. You've got to read the circumstances and situations. Hopefully, you also have some analytical help on trends and tendencies for your team. But yeah, this is a program that last year, I would say more than any other year, needed to probably go for it a few more times. But sometimes when you're scared to lose the game, you still lose the game anyways.
So Kansas has an open quarterback competition. Here's what Lance Leipold said about the parallels and then the differences between Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall, the 2 front runners.
First of all, if you watch Cole, and there's things in the pass game that both can do well, and others, there's things that you mentioned, Isaiah can be dynamic. I've kind of said this, and whether or not it's completely accurate, but I pick a couple guys that have been in our conference. I look at Cole doing things like Rocco Beck did at Iowa State. I look at some things, a very solid quarterback, a leader, a winner, can make the right plays. Yes, and he has some of those things for you that he'll get you first downs when you need to. And then I look sometimes Isaiah can be a little bit like Dampier at Utah, and there's some similarities that they both can do well and give us some different things, but they both fit what we can do. And again, we talked already a lot about Andy. The thing that I love about Andy, and it goes way back to our Division III days, is he's done an outstanding job creating an offense based on what's available.
Which is the magic words, right? You want to hear a coach that's coordinating an offense to fit the skill set of their players. Ballard and Marshall have 2 differing skill sets. My assumption is that Cole Ballard is going to start the season as the starter. I also believe at some point we will see Isaiah Marshall, because maybe we don't see enough from Ballard. I mean, think about the schedule that Kansas has early on with Missouri and then going overseas in the Union Jack Classic to play Arizona State. I mean, they could come back in their bye week 1-2 with their 1 win against an FCS opponent to start the season. Now, hopefully they don't, but if they do, I think there's a chance that through the bye week they could be looking at Isaiah Marshall. So my assumption will be with Kansas, Cole Ballard will start the season as the starting quarterback. If they go 1-2 and come back with the bye week from London, there's a good chance that heading into week 4 against Middle Tennessee State, we're going to be seeing Isaiah Marshall. And if not in a full-time capacity, at least a half-time capacity.
Mm-hmm. And I love the Rocco Beck comp when it comes to Cole Ballard, because there's nothing really talent-wise that he's capable, don't get me wrong, that's just off the charts, but he's just rock solid. So that's what he has going for him.
Look, he's a former walk-on, and, he played as a walk-on as a true freshman against Kansas State. He started that game and played fairly well in that game.
Very well. Kansas State fans remember that game quite well.
So I think that's, if you're going off of having seen him have some success, that's it. And that was very early on, and I believe it was with Andy Kotelnicki as well.
It was.
Yeah.
And I remember that game and thinking, who is this kid?
Yeah,
Former
right.
walk-on. He's a freshman, and
He's the son
the
of-
offense was clicking.
He's the son of the Colts general manager, Chris Ballard.
So he knows ball.
He knows ball.
He knows ball. All right, with Colorado, Colorado talking with some of their players at Big 12 Media Days, quarterback Julian Lewis, wide receiver Danny Scudero. Danny Scudero led the nation in receiving yards last year. There's a new offensive coordinator in Brendan.
Do you get the sense that I offended him?
Who?
Danny Scudero?
I wasn't on that interview.
Okay, never mind then.
Which clip can I evaluate that?
Well, I just talked about his size. It's kind of like, hey, so we're kind of the same size here. And he was looking at me like, no, we're not. Also, I'm like, he's also looking at me like, also, I'm probably like 20 years younger than you.
He's like, I'm 20 years younger. I'm way faster.
I'm way better looking. Like, what are you we're not even close to the same level. But instead, it was like very nice, like, huh, like a chuckle, like a very nice, like, huh, cool.
He did that.
Do you have any questions?
He gave you the throwaway chuckle?
It was, I mean, I would just say he handled it about as well as he possibly could have, given like some troll over here was like, you're not that big.
So we have back-to-back years of you offending a player.
Yeah.
It was Sam Levitt 2 years ago.
Sam Levitt, but we found out he's very easily offended.
Yes, we did. I'm Team Ari on that one.
Thank you.
This one,
yeah. This one's Team Danny. Even
Yeah.
I'm team Danny Scudero.
Danny. All right, let's start with Julian Lewis.
But let's wait. Let's wait and see. Maybe he also alienates his entire teammates and leaves before. Who knows? Jury's still out.
TBD. New offensive coordinator Brendan Marion. Here's what quarterback Julian Lewis said about playing in this new go-go offense.
Yeah, no, I mean, the go-go offense is a great opportunity to move the ball around. We got a lot of great athletes, a lot of great receivers that we just want to get the ball to and let them work. I mean, a lot of guys we don't really need to do too much to, and that already came in with it. You know, DeAndre Moore, we got Danny Scudero, Cam Perry, guys that all produced on the college level, so they're all ready.
Julian Lewis kind of went viral at Big 12 Media Days, and I thought his comments were taken out of context because he went viral for basically saying that, like, as a true freshman last year, he was just playing ball. He couldn't read defenses. There wasn't a ton of, like, in-depth analysis. He was just out there slinging it. And that clip went viral for, he's not prepared. But he was also, like, 17 years old.
Well, it's a confirmation bias thing, right? I mean, it's clearly Deion doesn't know what he's doing if, he's just doing basic concepts. I think to your point, like, if you actually hear what he said in sort of the full context, you get a better sense of, like, he was mostly blaming himself, sort of just being ignorant to the whole thing. The other thing I'll say, and you see this now a lot with, like, the Dallas Cowboys, when things go south and a coach is replaced, and things go very south, the dialogue surrounding that coach is very, like, and then subsequently the dialogue surrounding the new coach is quite the opposite, right? So it's like some of the stuff coming out now about, like, Matt Eberflus, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator from last season. It's like, yeah, I get he was a bad coordinator, but, like, this is just going overboard in terms of, like, look at all of the, like, people are taking what players are saying and then using it to be like, look at how bad Matt Eberflus' staff was and how great we are to have Christian Parker. And that's not to say that that's not true, but it's like you go overboard to sort of go over the top on how bad the predecessor was.
Trying to validate why this coach sucked.
Yeah, and why the team sucked.
Yeah.
And so it's like, see, they were unprepared. It's almost as if, like, they're attributing some of the characteristics of these coaches to, like, you're not even coaching. Like, you're just showing up and, like, chewing bubble gum and trying to look good. And look, I said from early on in the season last year that this was a rough marriage in terms of their offensive coordinator being more pro-style, not really doing what we just heard from Lance Leipold about Kotelnicki, which is sort of catering the offense to fit the skill set of the players, right? Like, something you probably should be doing. They ran more of a pro-style offense with two quarterbacks that were not very pro-style, and then they tried to incorporate a more pro-style quarterback into the mix who probably shouldn't have been starting at this level. So it did go south, totally from an offensive perspective, but it's hard for me to believe that, like, this guy who's been a head coach in the National Football League and has been an offensive coordinator, wasn't doing some of the basic things at the job that the job requires. I think the fit wasn't there. The quarterback and offensive coordinator fit was terrible, and that's a reflection of what happened on the field. But, to go back and be like, yeah, this guy had no idea how to teach this quarterback how to do anything at 17 years old seems ridiculous.
And Colorado played 5 quarterbacks not because of injuries, because their offense struggled to pick up first downs. Caden Salter was not very good. I mean, he just flat out missed on a ton of throws.
But it was just such a bad fit from an offense.
Yeah. And Julian Lewis, of the guys that did get an opportunity, was by far the best quarterback in the room. So my point is, I think there's a really high ceiling for him based off what he did last year, just playing ball and not throwing any interceptions and completing over 60% of his passes. Now, his number one favorite target could be Danny Scudero. Here's what Scudero said about being a veteran leader in that Colorado locker room.
I definitely feel that with my years of experience playing in college football, regardless of the level, it's definitely bringing a level of experience that can be used in a locker room. And it can definitely help, like I said, it can help the other receivers. It can help our offense with just understanding the game and having played a lot of college snaps before.
And the quarterback wide receiver, those 2 rooms with Colorado, and I understand why they brought those 2 guys to media days, that's not a question mark for me when I look at their season. I think the new offense is going to be much improved in terms of the passing game, but can they run the football? And more importantly, can they stop the run? They were dead last in both categories in the Big 12, and it wasn't even close last year.
And I think the thing with Scudero that, does it translate to this level that's really important is, remember, he was at a level where, after he started to really break out, teams were now game planning to stop him, right? So he's got 9 for 189 and a touchdown their opening game of the season. Then he goes 7 for 60. Then he goes 6 for 130 against Idaho week 3. Then against Stanford at Stanford, 11 for 135 and 2 tutties, right? So by that time, people are pretty dialed into stopping him. And you'd think at 5'9", 175 pounds, that wouldn't be very difficult. But then he goes and does 7 for 151 and a touchdown against New Mexico, 10 for 180 and 4 touchdowns against Wyoming, 6 for 25 in a game against Utah State that was down. And then how about against Hawaii, 7 for 215 and 2 touchdowns. You're not going to tell me that Hawaii, November 1st, for that game, did not spend the entire week game planning to try and stop Scudero? If you're watching film of San Jose State last year, he's the one guy you got to stop. This was not a good football team. Most of these games are losses. So I say all that to say, nobody's going to know him to start the season. Some teams will look at him to start the season, but they're going to kind of wait and see how he's able to play against these teams. So, if he's able to do this against teams that are game planning to stop you, I think if you're asking the question whether or not it's going to work as he levels up, I think there's no question about it. If he was able to get these types of numbers, 10 for 180 and 4 touchdowns against Wyoming, after teams are literally game planning to stop him, that is not going to happen early on in the Big 12 season this year for him. I think there's no question that he's going to be able to be the guy that he was at San Jose State for Colorado. I mean, is he going to lead the nation in receiving? No, probably not. But I think he's going to be the guy. I don't have any question about his ability to level up.
And he had his best games against the best opponents on their schedule.
Yeah, San Diego State, Stanford, you're right, Texas.
His Stanford game, 11 grabs, 135 yards, 2 touchdowns against a power conference opponent that they almost beat. Lost that game 30-29.
Well, I mean, Texas week 2, if you're Texas, he's the one guy you got to account for.
Yep.
7 for 60. He didn't have a great game, but still, 7 receptions.
7
Texas
catches.
Got open.
Had 88 catches, almost 1,300 yards, led the nation in receiving yards last season. All right, that's a look at KU and Colorado, a recap of our Media Day interviews. Coming up next, we will be joined by Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond. We caught up with him yesterday afternoon. You don't want to miss this. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari, I'm James, exclusively on TuneIn and brought to you by Modelo.
6 on 3rd down. Vittori scrambling and gets dropped in the backfield. Najee Kelly.
Sets up first down. They've got for Cincinnati from the 8. Quarterback draw with Sorsby, and he gets swallowed up immediately. Najee Kelly atones for Muscle.
But he's
2, beating the block. 55, John Walker.
Editor.
Oh, look out. Kelly made the hit. The ball comes loose. Rodney Laura has it, and the officials say he's also got a touchdown.
Talked about him before. I mean, he's a problem. He's just a problem waiting to happen. Steps up. Scooped up. It's going to be a quick 6.
Make plays. Here's Kelly Lawson right in the middle. He bluffs up and then drops back. So that when the defensive end knocks that ball out of the quarterback's hands, it's almost like a blocked kick.
Daniels will give to Williams, and Williams denied. Najee Kelly, the former Miami Hurricane, coming up with a stop.
Nowhere for the running back to go, but Kelly
Inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. We welcome in Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond here into the program. Will, how are you?
I'm doing great, James. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Let's get the easy stuff out of the way. How's the injury recovery going, and what are the chances that a little over 30 days from now, Will Hammond will be the Week 1 starter for Texas Tech?
Yeah, fully recovered at this point. Got cleared by the surgeon about 3 weeks ago. So great to have that verbal approval from him. And I would give it a high chance that I'm out there playing Week 1. Obviously, at this point, it's still up to our training staff here. They've got the last say. But physically, I feel ready to go for Week 1. And I'm just excited to get back out there with the guys and get rolling.
Now, when you say physically ready to go, does that mean, fully physically available in terms of, you being a dual threat, or would there be potential limitations to that?
Yeah. No, I feel great running the ball right now too. We've done a lot of great change of direction drills. Our PT guys here at Tech have been awesome. So I feel physically ready to do both, throwing and running the ball. Definitely enjoying that feature in the game of football again. Didn't really get to do much of it during the spring, so happy to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
Will Hammond is with us here on Big 12 today, the kid who tore his ACL last season. He's now the guy holding the keys to a Big 12 title defense for the Red Raiders. So was there a point during the rehab process where you turned a corner? Like, was there a moment where you thought, okay, I'm starting to feel like myself again, like I can do this, I can be ready to go, and I can be what I was before or even better earlier than people think?
Yeah, I remember back in March during spring ball, on the off days between practices, me and our trainer, we were doing our acceleration days, and I remember hitting 20.7 miles an hour, and that was like, I think 4 months post-surgery. I just remember thinking, like, if I can hit a new top speed faster than I'd ever hit before surgery throughout rehab, I can come out of this stronger. So that was definitely a big realization for me. And then I think the trend throughout rehab, it felt like every 2 weeks I would hit a big jump in rehab. It felt like there was always some kind of plateau and then a big jump where, like, jumping felt easier or cutting felt easier or a new running drill felt easier. So those little bits of gratification that you get throughout keep you going. And then obviously the full clearance from the surgeon gives you a lot of confidence getting back out there with the guys. So I think a mixture of all of those things gives me the confidence that I need going into Week 1.
Well, what have these last 3 to 4 months been like for you? I'm sure it's been a whirlwind. It's certainly been a whirlwind for us from the outside looking in. So just kind of curious for, there's a quarterback that Tech gets through the portal. It looks like, that allows you to kind of go slower in your rehab. Just take us through these last 3-4 months, what they've been like for you.
No, yeah, it's been awesome. It's been great. I love the game of football, and I love the grind that it was coming back from this injury, and also love the challenge of it. But yeah, we've got great coaches and teammates here that were always supporting me throughout the whole rehab process, which gave me the confidence to get back faster. And just happy it's all played out the way it has. And at the end of the day, I was gonna prepare myself to be able to play this fall, regardless of circumstance. But glad that the opportunity is in front of me, and just excited.
Yeah, and I guess that's where my next question would be, did this speed up your process? What were you kind of ahead of the curve anyways, regardless of what played out with the transfer quarterback? Just give us a sense here of maybe how things have changed, or if they haven't at all.
No, yeah, there really wasn't much of a change. We were always kind of ahead of the 8 ball on the rehab process, and so when the news finally dropped midsummer or early summer, their kind of message to me was like, don't feel like you have to try and speed anything up. Like, we're already ahead of the 8 ball. Just keep trending the way you are, and your ultimate goal of playing Week 1 is going to happen. So we've done a good job of that.
Well, the receivers that you'll be throwing the ball to no disrespect to the guys that were catching passes last year because it was a solid group, but I see a ton of NFL ready talent in that room. I love the portal class that Joey McGuire and James Blanchard have put together. How do you feel about your receivers and the guys that'll be catching passes?
Yeah, no, we've got a stacked group. Our recruiting staff, they killed it this offseason. I mean, all the way down to our 2 and 3 deep, we're pretty stacked. So it's a good feeling as a quarterback to know you've got a lot of weapons out there, and we can personnel a lot of things with our receivers and running backs and tight ends. So it's fun when you've got so many elite targets like that. You've got a lot of options of who you want to throw the ball to.
What attracted you to Texas Tech in the first place?
The staff, Coach McGuire. I know it sounds like something you've heard from everyone on the team, but it's actually true. He is the man, and they've got great people in this building. And it's because of the people he brings around. And I don't know. It's a great place to be out here in West Texas. Everyone loves Tech football. The offense is great. That was obviously a shiny thing for me. Go to a place where you can throw the ball a lot, and you're going to get a lot of receivers that can go run for you. So we're in a good spot.
Even though it was Zach Hitley that was the OC when you committed?
Yeah, it was exactly Zach Hitley. It's funny, people don't know this, but Leftwich was actually my second offer ever back when he was at UIW. So we go way back.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of fun having that relationship rekindled. He would have never gotten me back at UIW back in the day. He knew that, but now that he's here, we get to work together. So it's fun.
Well, the from everything that Joey McGuire has told us about you, we've heard stories about you from some of your teammates, and they all say that nobody loves the game of football like Will Hammond. Is that true? And I guess at what age did it kind of start to click for you? And is football the number one obsession in your life?
Yeah. No, yeah, we got a lot of guys on this team that love ball. I think I'm definitely up there. And yeah, to answer your question, football is for sure my number one obsession in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis. It all kind of started just playing football in the backyard with my brothers growing up, and carried on through Little League and on. So yeah, no, I've always loved football. It's always been number one, and it's a blessing and so fun to be able to play it at a great university like this and college football nowadays. So yeah, it's awesome.
So take me back to a game, September 2023, Liberty Hill. You complete 36 of 58 for 719 yards and 4 touchdowns with 88 more yards on the ground and 6 more scores in an 82-80 loss.
Yeah, that's a pull for sure. That was a wild night. I think the game was like 4 hours long. No,
would have thought 5 or 6 given the 162 point score. That's insanity.
Yeah, the game was a blast. Definitely a wild night, a lot of offense. Just a fun memory,
What do you remember about
I think my receiver had like 364 yards in that game. Just one of them had 364 yards. So there were definitely a lot of records shattered in that game.
Was that just like you had the confidence to know that like pretty much every play you were going to score?
Just about. I mean, I think there was one play where they dropped like 8 defenders and we were on the 30-yard line, and I just took off running and ran to the end zone. And I was like, I don't think they'll ever stop us, but we sure couldn't stop them. So that was a wild night.
That's like a throwback to the old Texas Tech teams way back in the early 2000s, right?
That's like an old early 2000s Tech game. Yeah.
Didn't Mahomes tweet about it too?
He did tweet about it. That was the first I'd ever gotten to hear from Mahomes. That was cool.
That's amazing. Will Hammond is with us here on Big 12 today, watching us on Big 12 Studios, listening on TuneIn. And Will, you're a strong guy. We've heard that from your coaches. It's clear the way you play. You're not afraid to take a hit. I've heard the comps of like you and Tim Tebow. Who do you model your game after in terms of playing that position?
I like Joe Burrow. No disrespect to Tim Tebow. He was great. Super strong, powerful quarterback. He was a little bulky, but I mean, he was a dog. I mean, won a national championship. So yeah, all the respect in the world to him. But no, I love Joe Burrow. just the moxie he plays with, and what he was able to do at LSU. So I always talk with Micah and Kenny and TC and those guys about 2019 LSU. We're always watching their highlights, and that's kind of the vision that we always have as we prep for this season.
You mentioned it was the first time that Mahomes mentioned you, so we know how connected Pat is to the program. Do you visit with him often? Do you get advice from him? What's your relationship with Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, no, it was cool. I got to hang out with him a little bit during pro day this past off season, and we were able to kind of talk ACL rehab and things of that nature, and off-season program and throwing. Like, we train with the same guy, and so it was fun to kind of crack some jokes about our guy Jeff Christensen. He's the man. So he's helped both of us a ton, and just good to have someone like that in your corner. I mean, he's the best player in the world, and to be able to at least get a little bit of advice from him every so often it's cool.
Yeah, what advice did he have for you on the ACL injury?
Yeah, no, it was funny because like I'm a month ahead of him in rehab in terms of like surgery date and whatnot. But it was fun to hear just the way that they approach it in an NFL building versus the way we approach it in a college building. Very similar, but kind of fun to just hear his process. And I was able to share some things like as I was starting some of my change of direction work with him, and he was able to share some things that kind of he was doing on a daily basis. So just good to have someone like that in your corner.
Yeah, you mentioned Jeff Christensen. He's your I'm assuming your private quarterback coach, essentially. Same guy that kind of mentored Mahomes and a bunch of other guys in the NFL. What has he been working on with you, and what areas do you feel more comfortable that you've improved in during that process?
Yeah, no, Jeff's been great. Spent a lot of time with him this off season. He's really big on the footwork and everything. Just having the consistency of that really helps with everything else. We've been working on a lot of good things, and at this point, it's a lot of just kind of like fine tuning, getting ready to roll for the season. So he's been incredible this off season, and a huge testament to him for what I'll be able to do this fall.
That's awesome. What are you most excited about for this season?
Just getting back out there. I mean, when you miss the last 4 games of a season, last 5 games of a season due to injury, you're itching the whole off season. And I just can't wait to get back out in the Jones and see this place rocking. And
the Galaxy now.
It is the Galaxy now. Yeah, it is the Galaxy.
It'll take a little bit.
Yeah, but no, I can't wait to get back in there. They're redoing the turf right now in the north end zone. They're putting up the new double T logo on there as we speak. So
sweet.
I can't wait to get back in there and run out of this tunnel and start putting some points up on the board with the guys.
Well, we know, Will, between you and Joe Burrow, who has the better hair. It's clearly you. But when it comes to who's got the better style, is it Will Hammond or Joe Burrow?
I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the quarterback show, but his mom was talking about how much he loved dressing himself when he was a kid. And he seems to invest a lot into his clothes. So I try and keep it pretty basic. I'm like purely like Lululemon and whatever they give us here. So he might have me on the clothes. I'm not big into the baggy stuff.
Do you have any idea that you're kind of going viral today?
Why?
I think people, yeah, well, the hair, but then I think which I'm sure you've gotten throughout your career, the sunshine from Remember the Titans comparison. There are side by side photos of you two that for some reason have gone viral today.
No, someone sent it to me yesterday, and I kind of love it. I like to say that I claimed it last week. McGuire sent me something. He said, "Hey, the hair's looking really good," and I sent him the GIF of the clip when he was saying sunshine in the movie, and then they've been putting the stuff out this week. So no, I'm definitely behind it for sure. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's got my support.
Oh, that's awesome. The Sunshine Will Hammond campaign. All right, Will.
I'll keep letting it ride.
Oh yeah, you got to. You got the move too, man. I don't know what you're doing there, but I like it. I'm here for it. Will, before we let you go, all right, what are people sleeping on when it comes to Texas Tech? What's one thing about Texas Tech this season that people are missing when it comes to the Red Raiders?
I think the biggest thing is that like the defense is back. I think we had so many guys drafted off the defense last year that people might think that we would take a step back on that side of the ball, and that's just not even the case. Our linebacker core is so solid, and the transfers that we got on the D line are going to live up to the hype. And especially those guys on the back end having another year like Bryce Pollock. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to see Bryce Pollock live. So it's going to be special, man. That defensive side of the ball is really reloaded, and it's all anchored by AJ Holmes, and he's just been a great leader for that side of the ball. So I'm really fired up to let those guys go to work this fall.
Last one for me. Are you an Eagle Scout?
Yeah, I'm an Eagle Scout.
That's amazing. So, like for people that don't know, tell people what that means and how'd you achieve that status?
Yeah, it means that golly, it's been so long.
Like you've advanced so
yeah,
far in
you've
the
advanced
scouting.
far enough in scouting, and you've achieved enough ranks. There are a lot of merit badges, a lot of projects that we did to get to that point, and it was a long process, but it was fun. Taught me a lot. Definitely a very adventurous guy, so it pays off to be able to know some little things out in the wilderness and whatnot, and kind of you learn a lot about leadership through Boy Scouts. But yeah, it was a great process, and our family was big on it growing up, and yeah, definitely taught me a lot.
That's amazing. Well, man, you're an awesome dude. Can't wait to see you out there on Saturdays, and good luck this season.
Appreciate it, James. Thanks for having me on.
Will Hammond, Texas Tech quarterback, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. More after this. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. We are powered by Modelo.
Claire.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Special thanks to our friends at Texas Tech for hooking us up with Will Hammond, the Texas Tech quarterback. Told us he expects to be full go. Week 1, he is ahead of schedule when it comes to the injury. The top speed that he tested, that's pretty encouraging if you're a Texas Tech fan. That he hit a new personal best in terms of his top speed. I would say the injury, the knee is holding up quite well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Obviously that sounds a lot like some of the preseason talk that, preseason optimism.
He's also added 20 pounds of muscle.
Great
He can
weight.
throw a football 200 yards right over the mountains.
But look, I think, Texas Tech had the right quarterback up next. The ACL injury is what threw a wrench in their plans. So, hopefully he can come back and be fully operational, and this team has a really high ceiling if that's the case, because, you heard from Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews, as well as many others. Basically, it's overwhelming in terms of the belief that Tech will win the Big 12, but, their ceiling is about how far they can go in the playoff. Getting shut out last year in the playoff is not sitting well with Tech, with the Big 12, or with anybody. And so they've got to show out better this season, and it's going to take a better quarterback to do so, and I think that could very well be the case here with Will Hammond. It remains to be seen, though.
The real question and edge of your seat debate that has transpired this season is which Big 12 quarterback looks more like Sunshine from Remember the Titans? Is it Will Hammond, or is it Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson? Because both players have been compared to the much younger version Ryan Gosling in that movie. Who is it?
I think it's Will Hammond, but it's a great question. Avery gets, I think, the Lifetime Achievement Award because when he was recruited, he came in looking like Sunshine. But I think it's more with Avery in the hair, whereas with Will, it's the full-on look.
Okay. Head to toe?
Head to toe.
Avery's hair is a little more curly. He's never cut it.
Will Hammond looks like Ryan Gosling. Avery does not.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Tough to disagree. You want to know who's Jarrett Stoll? Anybody know? Jarrett Stoll? Don't worry about what I got going on over
Why
here.
do you have my picture up next to?
Don't worry about it.
Is this a hockey player?
Yeah, he's a hockey player.
Does he look like me?
Yeah, he kind of does.
So,
that's your doppelganger.
I was at a Rangers game last week. I saw 3 games, and so I'm sitting with my wife and kids, and guy walks up. He's wearing a White Sox hat with 2 other Rangers fans, and he kind of looks at me like he knew me. And I thought we gave knowing glances, like we're both White Sox fans, like, hey, what's up? But he's like, do I know you? And I'm like, so that I have 2 thoughts. Number 1 is in high school I got told that I looked like somebody else all the time. So I came to the conclusion that I have a very common face.
Okay.
Very common face.
But you don't know who it is?
It was basically like, oh, you look like this guy that I know because I have a common looking face.
Gotcha. But they would never actually tell you who it is.
Well, they might. I'm just saying there's not like
George Clooney.
No. Like, you look like this guy that I go to high school. When I'm in high school, I met somebody else from another high school, and it's like, hey, you look like this guy that goes to my high school that I know. And then it's like I was just always the guy that people knew. But then I'm also sort of like pseudo famous, right? Same with you, where it's like kind of famous, but not really. Mm-hmm. So my wife's like, oh, he probably recognizes you for the videos, and I'm like, I don't know if that. And then it's like this awkward, like, I'm not gonna say anything. If he says something, then cool. But so it's a mix of I've got a face that is very common. So I get I've always gotten that in my life.
Really?
It's like, oh, you look like somebody I know. Like, yeah, I get that a lot.
It's Manu Ginobili.
It's the guy you brought up. People think I look like Ettore Messina, who was a coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Is that a man?
Yeah, if you remember I think it was the Cavs that hired him.
Okay.
Not Ettore Messina, that was the Spurs. Who was the guy? David. Who was the guy that Cleveland hired to be the head coach very briefly for LeBron?
David.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, he was in Israel, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People think I look just like him.
David Blatt.
David Blatt.
Yeah.
People think I look just like David Blatt. So I get that a lot.
I'll throw Roel Brouwers into the conversation. He is a former Dutch footballer. He's a soccer player. Played for the Netherlands. That's you.
I'm telling you, I just have a very common-looking face.
Tame and Google him.
I'm sorry.
R-O-E-L.
I had to Google
Flowers.
David Blatt.
It's him.
David Blatt could be Ari's dad.
See what I mean? Like, there's so many people that I look like. It's not a good thing. It basically is like, yeah, you kind of look just like any bland-looking guy.
Oh, you stand out with your fashion. That's what separates you from these clowns. I've never felt that way. I've never felt you look like a bland, hey, this
Thanks.
guy looks familiar.
I didn't.
Okay?
I mean, I appreciate you.
I was surprised by the long list of results for your doppelganger.
There's a lot. There's a good.
Does this man look like Matt Damon?
I'm telling you,
I wanted to go
in
with.
high school, I used to get that all the time. Like, you look like somebody I know. And it was just like a random person, right? Like, and it's like, yeah, I tend to look like a lot of people, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I mix in with crowds better. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Mixing with the crowds, I like that.
Yeah.
Be a strength and a weakness.
It's a huge,
Be both.
it's a big confidence boost, you know?
Is it?
No.
Oh, the opposite.
Quite the opposite. Who do you look like?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Napoleon
We're
Dynamite.
gonna find out. Napoleon Dynamite, that's it. Yeah, vote for Pedro. Loved that movie. Man, that's a banger movie.
See, you look like Napoleon Dynamite,
movie.
started really paying attention to how he looks.
Right. It's like, I'm going to clean up a little
I'm going to clean up. I'm going to
I'm
go
gonna
work
trim my
out, maybe get a
hair.
little tan.
Yeah, throw little glasses on. It's like, hey, let's get a little chesty lion going on.
What was
I like that.
Little chesty lion going on. Lawrence
I'll
High.
Google it.
Shout out Lawrence High.
I'll search it. I'll
Who else do you
report
look
back.
like?
I'm going to report back tomorrow. We got to wrap.
Oh, tomorrow.
I've got to I've got to find a headshot. I've got to throw it into this generator that will give me a list of who I look like. Okay? And I'll report back. Will Hammond was our guest this hour, the Texas Tech quarterback. We also had Morgan Scalley, the Utah head coach. We had Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews and Trey Wallace from Fox and Outkick. You could always find us here on Big 12 Studios via YouTube, exclusively on TuneIn via the TuneIn app, via the Big 12 app. We are powered by Modelo. We're back same time, same place tomorrow for T-Chains. For Anthony Smith behind the camera, producing on the video side, he's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We'll talk to you then.
With state